Bam, we're live. Hector, Devesh, Corey. I did. That's 2 days in a row where I hit the go live button, but I didn't have my picture up. Just okay. You need to be Mr. Porter, Dear Con. Chrome. You need to be on Chrome browser. So I have this. I basically this podcast starts at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, more or less. And I'd say 89% of the time. And so what happens is I have this like total routine I do. I set my alarm for 6:30. No, sorry, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I get up, I drink a cup of coffee. I open all the blinds. I try to respond to a bunch of DMs, especially I look for the guests I've invited the day before to see if they've responded. And then at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I jump in the shower. Apuruf, Gangwar, good evening from Brisbane. Corey Leonard, Bruce Wayne, Adam Blakesley. Good morning. And then so then I jump in the shower and I try to get out like quick. I try to make it like a, it's not like I wash my ass, my crotch, my armpits. That's it. And I shower before I go to bed. It's just like to wake up, right? And so now I've had a cup of coffee. I've opened the blinds. And so then from there, I come into my office and I turn on the computer and I send the link to the guest. The dog comes outside and he pees while I'm doing that. And from there, I go back inside. And when I come in to turn on my computer and send the link to the guest, I also bring in my show notes and my coffee. And so what I do with my coffee is it's like, this is my second cup of coffee for the day. And it has like 2 shots of espresso down here. And then I fill the rest with hot water. Paper Street Coffee. Booyakasha. I think you get 10% off if you use the name Sevan over there. And supporting them is like supporting us. You have to know that. Like it really, 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 really is. It's a great way to support us. You pay him, and then he's like, oh, that's a good investment for me to support the Sevan podcast. And then he keeps paying us. And then that lets us pay for all the shit that this stuff costs. So then I come back in here, ideally like at 6:49, 6:50. Like it's hopefully like just a quick turnaround. No later than 6:55, but sometimes I don't know why, but I'm pushing the limits further and further. So like just now I rolled in here and exactly at 7. So casual sender, Steve, Jake. I watched Mr. Hiller. Good morning. I watched the exchange between Bill Maher and Joe Rogan yesterday, and you can just see where they've gone so wrong. And it's where Canadians have gone wrong too. I saw a funny video this morning of Michelle Latondra. If you want to watch that CrossFit Games video that they made of her, she's talking basically about how no one can tell her what to do. Like if you tell her what to do, she'll push the opposite way. But she's wearing a mask in the video. It's so absurd. It's so absurd. It's so absurd. It's such a contradiction. I was embarrassed for her. Beautifully shot. But Bill Maher and Joe Rogan, they basically, in the clip that I saw, the 11-minute clip I saw, they're basically saying that they are still liberals, but the left has changed, and they're totally missing the point. They're totally missing the point. Mr. Pecan Porter.
Hello, sorry about that, mate.
Dude, it's not even. The good thing about my mouth is that it will just run.
Perfect, mate. Me and you both talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles.
Is your Instagram this?
No, my Instagram is at I am Khan Porter.
Okay, hold on one second. I want to change. Okay, so I just put the words "I am" in front of it.
Yes, sir.
How about that?
Perfect. There we go.
I like that. Hey, that's kind of like there's like the Sevan podcast, the Dave Castro, I am Khan Porter. I like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what exactly Khan Porter is, but we're getting there. I don't know if I'm quite ready for a the yet.
Right. Are you in a where? So you're in Iceland. You have been recruited to come there and participate on what arguably is the most experienced group of CrossFitters in the world, being that you have Yami, Katrin, and Annie
Mm.
there. It's quite remarkable, and I'm sure there's other people there I don't even know who've been in the game forever. But where? So you come from Australia, where it's sunny, and then you go to that's like in this on this planet. Australia's down on the bottom of the planet,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir. It's about
And
as
now you went up to the top of the planet.
Yeah, I think it's about as far as you can travel by plane in kind of like a consistent journey. So we have to fly via either the Middle East or Asia, and then usually stop somewhere else in Europe and then come up to Iceland. So it's about as different a climate and about as far away from home as you can get.
Yeah, I wonder what like the stuff that some people think is bullshit, the implications are like how the I don't know, magnetic poles affect you, or do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
totally different. It's a totally different place on the rock.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I know exactly what you mean. I've never been one to buy into a lot of that sort of stuff. So I have no idea what it's supposed to be like. I can tell you though that training and breathing in the cold sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also real shitty when you want to go out and do bits and pieces. When it's bucketing down with snow or pissing down with rain outside your window. But that said, like you're exactly right. The crew that I've got around me here is wild. The
World
amount
class. Totally. There needs to be a whole show on the fact that you guys are all there with Annie, Katrin, and Yami. It's
Have you ever
nuts.
had Yami on the show?
I have not. I know him. I used to hang with him quite a bit. I used to see him everywhere. I need to have him on the show. I'm a
Dude,
huge fan. Huge
he
fan.
is phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
one of the smartest dudes you'll ever meet, and with everything as well. Like he's just
He's
got such
kind of a Kelly Starrett and a Ben Bergeron and maybe some other dudes all wrapped into one. People don't
yeah,
realize that.
like a
Yeah.
philosopher and a kind of just free thinker as well. Doesn't mind a beer, which is always sits well too. So he's a like
Wait, what was that sentence you said? Was that English? He doesn't mind a butte.
doesn't mind a beer.
Oh, a beer. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and he's like he just his impact on the group here can't be overstated. It's crazy how much influence he has and just how like his attention to detail across the board, how that sort of permeates into the culture amongst the people, and even how it's kind of influenced my own approach to everything has been wild in just 3 months. So, dude, I'm pumped to see kind of how it continues to grow with him at the helm. He really is kind of, I think, the secret weapon. And I say secret weapon because there'd be people that don't even know him, but of this training group for sure.
He has crazy pedigree. He's been around forever. That's what people don't know. Also don't
Yeah.
understand. I mean, he's like Miko Salo old school.
Yeah, dude. I think that's how he even met. I mean, I won't take away from his stories or anything like that, but I think that's how he met Annie, going to the games with Miko. And then, I mean, they've been together, I think, since 2009, maybe. And she's got to be one of the most consistent and decorated females in the sport, if not the most consistent and decorated. And then you look at BKG as well. Like he's been with
Oh,
Yami since.
right. I'm sorry, I forgot
Dude,
him.
and
You're right.
he's a stud. He's such a stud too, and so kind of like overlooked when it comes to a lot of the athletes. But his consistency, and they've both been with the Army for forever, and that is a huge testament to him, I think.
BKG's kind of this Europe Scott Panchik, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like he's
He's just
so
there.
consistent.
He's the rock. Yeah.
Yeah, just won the quarterfinals then as well. Like, yeah, he's good, man. And that the training environment with that crew is just it's unbelievable.
Is BKG a bit of a mental monster? Is his shit like a trap door? Like he seems fucking solid.
Yeah, bro. He'll kind of be in a workout and he's just got the most stoic face. And then every now and again, you'll just hear like and then he'll just go back to doing. And I think the first time that we heard that kind of happen in a workout, it was very nice to hear that he was human, because you just watch the dude and he's just monstering. And then all of a sudden there'll be like and then all of a sudden he's back to just competing as normal. But yeah, dude, I think they're all mental monsters here. Just the mindset amongst everyone is, what can we possibly be doing day in and day out to be getting better in every way, shape, or form? And that decision-making process is you can just see how it influences so many things. And it's really cool to kind of have that rub off on me a little bit.
Did you remember you and I ever meeting, like shaking
Dude,
hands and meeting?
yes, I actually have a funny story for you
Okay.
about the first time that we met. So when I started CrossFit in 2012, I was studying journalism at university, and I was also doing TV and radio presenting at a performing arts place. And so I kind of wanted to do the whole on-camera journalism. That was a thing that I'd kind of looked into. When I came into the CrossFit space, I was a massive fan of the behind the scenes. And I don't know, are you familiar with, I'm sure you are familiar with Louis Theroux?
The British guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing.
Well, I'm about to piss in your pocket because I kind of saw you as this CrossFit Louis Theroux with your behind the scenes.
Wow, thank you.
Questions. And so when I made the games in 2014, I was like, fuck, here we go. You're going to go to the CrossFit games. You're going to get to meet Sevan, this CrossFit's Louis Theroux. Maybe you can chat to him about journalism stuff. You'll be able to riff back and forth. And I remember it, but being clear as day, there was like a circle of us sitting around in 2014, and you came over and you had your camera. And I think you like asked one question, asked the next guy a question, asked the next guy a question. And the camera kind of came to me and just kind of stood up and walked away. And my little heart just broke. I was like,
do you know why I probably did that?
And when you as anxious as I do, I then spent the next year being like, fuck, why does he hate you so much? Why does this guy fucking hate you? Like, what have you done so horribly wrong?
You know why?
Yeah, dude, I remember that. And then I remember chatting.
Say that again. You remember what?
I remember chatting to you a bit in 2015, and that was all good.
And where did we chat in 2015? Just like what you were backstage somewhere?
Yeah, I want to say that there was like a couple of just things walking up to the competition arena. I was probably shit scared of you at this point, thinking that 2014 thing meant way more than it actually did. And I just need to avoid you because you probably hate my guts and everything along those lines. But such is the nature of anxiety, mate. It's a hell of a trip.
I'm super intimidated by a beauty. Like very, very intimidated by beauty. That's why I struggle to interview women. I struggle. So I was probably crazy intimidated by how good you looked. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I have to tell you, it's like real for me. Like it's not.
I don't dismiss that at all.
I couldn't interview the girls, and I've had to ask my wife to help me interview the women at the CrossFit Games before when I was doing the behind the scenes. Crazy intimidated by beauty.
Oh, dude, so I can kind of resonate with that. Like if I was out and about and I see like a really attractive girl, there's no way in the world I'm going up to talk to them.
Yeah.
There is no way in hell. I'd be way too intimidated.
And I'm almost like that around all women, like just period. Like I don't think like fat girls, skinny girls, like all girls, I think are attractive. It's like for me, I'm wide open. And so I'm and they used to joke around about that at HQ too. They'd be like, "Oh, Sevan has 15 interviews with the dudes." And in a way, it's like, hey, that's what I do. I point my camera at shit that's beautiful all day, but with the women, like, and there's a sort of a yeah, and so some dudes would have that effect on me too. You know what I mean? Like Matt Fraser does not have that effect on me, but maybe you do. Or like Rich Froning does. You know what I mean?
I mean, thank you. I don't even know how to respond to that.
It just is.
I'm not even a little bit. But yeah, dude, that was kind of my first memory. And I was like, man, that's going to be a funny story because, yeah, like been a huge fan of yours and the stuff that you were doing since way back in the day then. And definitely as a former journalism student and, fan of that kind of stuff, it was really, really cool. And it was cool to see the work that you did when you guys were doing that sort of stuff. And now with the podcast as well, it's fucking awesome.
Thanks. I'm having fun.
Yeah, bro.
Those people who you're with, they were all great to me. Katrin, Annie, Yami, BKG. Well, they were always so easy. I could walk. I mean, Katrin and Annie can handle the camera. I mean, they were always so welcoming. As scary as it was to interview them, they really always knew how to like be wide open to me. They were really cool.
They're so good when it comes to handling that stuff. It's kind of crazy. That gym. Have you ever been to Reykjavik? CrossFit
I,
Reykjavik?
I was there once, but I suspect maybe she's moved. The first time I went there, I got to basically I would basically hung out with Annie for like a week, and I got to take so many pictures of her and film
Yeah.
her so much. It was, man, I was so excited. It was amazing.
What a place to come and shoot content of
Is
any
it
kind.
huge? Are they in the same location they've been in for 10
Yeah,
years?
massive long location. And when you walk in, it's almost like there's like a viewing platform at the top where you can kind of see out over the whole gym.
Okay.
So
I
that's
walked in on a bottom floor. There was a top floor, but I walked in on a bottom floor.
you might have walked in around the back, but it's really long,
Okay.
like crazy massive space. Yeah.
Yes, massive.
Yeah, so it might still be the same place, but it's crazy to see just how popular it is. Not just obviously with the members they have there, but you get so many people and they come and drop in, and they're clearly there to just come and watch the girls train. Like, like to think that they're there for the team, but they're there to see Annie and Kat train for sure.
Of course. Right.
It's crazy. They'll come in and there's these glass panels up the top, and they'll just stand up the top and they'll just watch, film. Some will come a little bit closer and they just stand there and they're just filming the girls training. And it's almost like animals in the zoo. And
Yeah.
they're so good with it. They're so fine with it. The way they'll always kind of go and talk to them afterwards and take a photo and stuff as well. And so I'm not surprised to hear that they were kind of easy enough on camera. And then it's a crazy environment, dude. It's such a cool gym.
So that's just known in that country, huh? Like you could, you can go by Reykjavik and you can poke your head in, and there's a chance you might see these world-class athletes training.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've even seen people just turning up, not going in the gym and getting photos out the front. There's a CrossFit Reykjavik sign.
Yeah.
Right, you go to walk in, and I've seen people stopping and getting photos at that. It is a landmark here. There's some sort of I don't know what it is. It has some sort of kind of saying that the cab drivers, it's the second most requested place to go in Reykjavik behind the big church.
Wow. And I remember the big church.
Yeah, it's cool. Huh?
Yeah, it was very cool. Like there's all these there's like a skylight bubble there on the ground, right? And like grass growing on it and all that.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's still there anymore. At the church?
Yeah, like basically part of the church is underground, and so on the top when you walk up to the church, weren't there just tons of skylights that go down to the ground? No,
maybe I think that's the one, unless they've taken it away. They've just changed the door though, and it's got a bright red door with a symbol very similar to the one on your shirt. It's very cool.
Oh, good. This is where I got that idea from there.
Norse mythology church. Well, it's not. It's a Catholic church or a Christian church, but I think looks very Norse and very mythological kind of door.
How do you get? It's you. And did you know Tola before this?
So I knew Tola sort of through Justin, through Kotler and the Underdogs crew, and then I got to hang with him at the games last year when we were on the demo team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then
you were on the demo team last year.
Yeah, me, Tola, and Newbury. That was a lot of fun.
That's the last. You got the last bit of Castro.
Yeah, man. That's fucking savage to even think about. That was, dude. Man, it's not going to be that. Surely, oh man, it's not going to be the same without a demo team of his. That was such a cool experience, dude. To have done the games, kind of team and individual, and then to have got to do that, which now you say that makes it even more kind of crazy to think about getting like the last, let's call it the proper demo team with Dave. Man, fuck, that makes the experience even more kind of special.
You guys have the demo team has a very unique relationship with Dave. I don't think people realize it, right?
Yeah. You get to see, I mean, I've always really liked Dave and really liked the way that he kind of did things and games, put the tests together, and have only had really good experiences with him. So I was excited to go, but the level of appreciation I had for him after doing that and getting to see the games almost through his lens and through that kind of demo team role, dude, it was even cooler. And it really gave such a greater appreciation for the amount of effort that he puts into the tests and just what the games meant to him, like as an entire thing, as an entire concept. It is a very cool role.
you see something like if someone, like when people come and see my gym at my house, it's on social media a lot. And when people come, they're always like, oh, it's so much smaller in person. But the games is the opposite. When you
Yeah.
get to look behind the curtain, you're like, holy shit, I had no
Yeah.
idea, right? It's
Yeah.
bigger than you even could imagine.
Dude, it's wild. The amount of work that everyone that's involved is putting in, it's, yeah, you really have to see it to understand it. And you don't when you're an athlete. You
Right.
walk, you're in the back room, you warm up, you walk out that little thing past, like, oh, in Madison now, you go past the fans in that area, you do your workout, you might hear a briefing, then you kind of walk back and do your own thing. So you understand the size of it, and especially having done it in LA as well. But yeah, to kind of see behind the curtain like that, yeah, it's wild.
So there's so many questions fighting to come
Go for it, mate.
to come to the front. You've been to the CrossFit Games 6 times.
Yes.
Is this is this going to be the most unique experience? Is this event, with where you are in your headspace, and we'll get to that, where you are in your headspace, but with where you are in your headspace and being around this team in Iceland, do you think that this is a new Con Porter?
Oh,
You think this
absolutely.
is going to be like a whole, like if every year you've been taking a Ferrari to the games, this year you're taking a whole new beast, a super
Yeah,
Tesla?
a super Tesla. There we go.
I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah, running on electricity, mate. Yeah, honestly,
The
very much
content that's coming out makes it sound like you're being rebuilt better than ever before. Like that.
100%. This is without a doubt, and in so many different ways. Like, I was very much, I mean, this was kind of the perfect opportunity for where I was at competitively, personally, in every kind of aspect of my life. When this popped up, it was a very quick yes from me. And I think I was last pick, and they'd gone through a few people, and then it was kind of like getting desperate and
Wow.
who the hell can we get to jump in last minute? Because I didn't get the call up until Christmas Day, Boxing Day. And then I was due to go to Whatappalooza 2 weeks after that. So it was basically a 2 week turnaround between me getting the call up and jumping on a plane. But it was just the right time for me to do something like this. And I kind of knew coming into this season that if I wanted to have another crack, either individually or whether I found a team or something along those lines, I was going to have to go, let's call it all in. I was going to have to put in full effort into this season, and I was going to have to approach it in a way that I hadn't done before. Maybe except the first year that I kind of made the games in 2014, from 13 to 14. And the issue with that was Sydney and where I was going to be the best environment for me to do that. And there was a couple of options floated around to kind of go and train elsewhere, and to go maybe even to go to Vegas with Justin Kotler, because he's a very good friend of mine, and to kind of have an approach like that. But I was kind of still on the fence about exactly what I was going to do. So when this opportunity presented itself, it was a very quick yes for me. And then it was kind of like, after I'd said yes, all the reasons that was the best decision kind of started to fall into place. And yeah, a big part of that was definitely being able to put myself in an environment that was conducive to me getting better and wanting to get better, minimizing distractions, holding myself accountable to another group of people, and to a group of people that were levels above. Annie obviously came third last year at the game. She's the benchmark in this team. When you're going into the gym every day that's the benchmark. You can't help but make better decisions, like ongoing, make better decisions to kind of move yourself towards that and to keep up with her in that respect. And then, yeah, man, it's been challenging in a lot of ways being here and adjusting to, a lot of different lifestyle things. But again, I just think that I was in the right place in my life, personally, and I had the right kind of mentally, I was ready to take on the responsibility, and also I can't think of the word, but like, to be able to deal with the potential failure of going all in on something like this. And then let's say we aren't successful in our role, to be able to kind of go, okay, I went all in and there was no backup, and this was 100% effort. And if 100% is not good enough, then you process that and move on. And I think I'm kind of in a really cool place with that. And it's been a really cool adventure.
You said that you weren't the first choice. Does part of that, since you know that as part of you, like, can you use that as fuel? Like, okay, I'll show
Yeah.
you. I'll show you why I should have been the first choice, motherfucker.
Yeah. I mean, I've never thought of it like that. I kind of just looked at it like I'm very much, if something like that comes, if someone says that to me, I'm very much someone that will kind of go, okay, well, let's try and think through why that was the case. And let's try not to take that personally. But yeah, I've definitely, like, I'm aware of it, and I'm certainly carry that awareness with me in how I approach training. And whilst I still try to make training as enjoyable and keep things lighthearted as much as possible, yeah, it's certainly,
Like leverage it. Like let your ego leverage your ego with it. Manipulate yourself with that.
yeah,
Bit.
yeah, for sure. There was an element of kind of, yeah, but not even just in that respect. Like, I think there's so many ways in which I'm constantly trying to prove to myself as well as the rest of the team that I am good enough and that I'm worthy of being here and that I'm worthy of being in a team that has the goal of trying to win the CrossFit Games. And that in of itself is an ongoing journey. And it's one that certainly has its hiccups, but it's yeah, that definitely feeds into it.
What a trip, huh? What a trip. Someone as established as you still has to fight those demons. I mean, I think it's everyone.
Yeah, bro. I think that's human nature. I think we all fight them in different ways, and we all question ourselves and our self-worth in different respects. But yeah, I mean, that's been a fundamental part of who I am. And since I was a kid, like, I'm constantly questioning myself, and that's something I'm really working on. I have been really working on here. And that's the other thing. This environment has been a real opportunity to start to spend a lot of time on my own, spend a lot of time kind of figuring out, yeah, how to kind of have those conversations with myself, how to prove, maybe it's not a matter of proving to myself that I'm good enough, but just accepting who I am. And that's been a big part of this journey too.
I had this guy on last night named Jordan Levitt. He's fighting this Saturday. He's 9-1 in the UFC. He's a
Oh,
fighter.
nice. Yeah.
And he said, I can't remember who told him this or if he read it in a book. Was it him who said this? I was so impressed by this. He said, you have to stop listening to yourself and talk to yourself.
Yeah. Fuck.
And I was like, whoa. I was like, holy shit. I've read a million self-help books. Like that one fucking boom.
Dude, and fuck, that's crazy. That whole idea of talking to yourself, I'll extend on that with something that came to light for me recently. I was meditating, and every now and again, which you probably wouldn't tell because I've been fidgeting the whole time I'm on this bloody camera, but every now and again, I'll feel called to just sit with myself and put on some music and just kind of like go deep and dark. And sometimes it's all over the place. And I was meditating recently, and I was sitting in the corner of the room, just over to the side there. And I had this music on, and I just was hit with this profound insight whilst I was meditating. And I was thinking, it's going to sound weird. It was as if my thoughts were me speaking to someone else. It was explaining myself to someone else. It was explaining my thought process. It was very external, and it was very externally projected. And I kind of just dude, to the point where I broke down. It hit me so hard. I don't talk to myself. I don't talk to myself, and I don't have these conversations where I'm not trying to be or do anything for other people, where it's purely and simply a conversation with myself. And yeah, I'm good at listening to myself. I'm good at listening to that inner critic particularly. And yeah, I'm good at kind of sitting there and figuring out ways to articulate how I think and how I feel that's processable, and that's kind of being able to articulate that for other people to understand. Because I think when you kind of go through various mental bits and pieces, like mental health bits and pieces, you kind of are forced to figure out how to kind of articulate that, because they can be quite a lonely experience if you're not able to share that with someone else. But yeah, sitting there and being like, man, I don't talk to myself. Like, where's the conversations that I want to have? Like, what do I want? How do I feel? Like, without there being an external, why am I so afraid of sitting and just talking to myself? So that's cool. That was what he said as well. That's fuck. Yeah, might be some truth to it then.
Yeah. I really liked it. How old are you, Con?
32. Getting there.
Yeah. I I I I I read the morning chalk up article you wrote. Fantastic article. And I watched the interview. I think it's Mind is RX or Mind something.
Yeah, Mindset RX guys.
Yeah, incredible, awesome podcast. Awesome. I can't believe it had so few views. I mean, you basically talked about it all. It was really good.
It was a good podcast. When you shared that thing, I was like, oh, I forgot I even did that. I don't even remember where I was, maybe Vegas or something. I don't even remember where I was when I did that. But yeah, he was very good. The guy, Tom from Mindset RX, he was very good.
He's a good listener.
Hmm.
Very good listener. This is the part I struggle with. I struggle with the labeling of certain aspects of mental health. So many people will be like, hey, I'm ADHD or I'm OCD or I'm depressed. And I think a healthy man, and I have my bias, between the age of 20 and like 35, these things that are labeled those things, I think we all go through. I think all healthy men go through.
Yeah, I agree to an extent. Continue, sorry.
No. So and I get concern's not the right word. Maybe defensive is a better word. When some of these things are named and given life, but they're just ideas, I get concerned that people will become attached to them and carry them with them their whole life. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's something that I wrestle with a lot. And I wrestle with that, and I kind of have two perspectives, one on each side of the equation. And that's kind of how I like to look at all of these kind of questions. The first is with that kind of, I think that all mental health and mental health labels exist on a spectrum. And you're exactly right. I think we can all exhibit characteristics that are in line with those kind of, let's call it diagnoses, if you will. Particularly young men as well, like with ADHD, for example. I also think that there is a lot to be said and a lot of research that needs to be done into personality and the way that personality difference can potentially lead itself to exhibiting characteristics that could become pathologized even when they aren't, if that makes sense. So
Yep.
I find personality psych fascinating. It's my favorite sector of all of psychology. And I was introduced to it when I did in one of my like early intro to psych subjects. And then I went on to do, Jordan Peterson has a really brilliant personality psychology course. It's like a 5-hour course and it's phenomenal. And with that, when you learn about the big 5 personality traits and you start to realize that I don't know if there's been anything that's had as a profound impact on the way that I view myself, others, and the world as learning about personality psychology and learning about personality differences. And a big part of what I wrestle with what you're saying about the labeling is the idea that when you look at someone's personality and you look at how someone's personality is made up, it's certainly easy to see how personality differences, particularly if you've got one person that's doing the diagnosing that's personally quite different to the person that's exhibiting the symptoms and the issues, how that can then lead to overdiagnosis, and that can lead to that overassignment of labels to what's relatively, let's call it normal behavior, well, normally abnormal behaviors. So I agree in that respect. But the flip side to that then is, does having a label and does that label and what that label can teach you. So for example, I've always struggled to focus, but I never knew until someone said you have ADHD that, hang on a second, I never connected the dots of actually that I needed to do specific things to help improve my focus. I had trouble focusing on one thing at a time. So I tried to multitask and then I just end up all over the place and getting frustrated at myself and not completing the tasks on time. So that's where I see that labels can be beneficial if they're used productively. You're right. If someone just takes a label and they run with that and they think that that's kind of a sentence, because like I said, all these things exist on a spectrum and you can improve the symptoms along the way. if I didn't have that label, if I wasn't given that label of ADHD and I had to kind of just stab in the dark to figure out why and not really even understand that I couldn't focus, then maybe I wouldn't have gone ahead and read a bunch of books on how to focus and figured out kind of processes within my work to make that happen. But I think it's like with everything, mate, it's how you use the label. It can be a death sentence or it can be a form of liberation. And I think it can be something that's very powerful in allowing people to help themselves or to get help if they use it the right way. And that's something that I'm super big on. And I talk about a lot, like the difference between being vulnerable and playing the victim. And I think that that's something that societally we have a big issue with at the moment for a lot of different reasons. But more than anything else, I think what we need to be super conscious of is these labels, like you said, they're just ideas and they're just words. And what they should be are tools to help people make better choices, improve themselves and improve their lives. What they shouldn't be is like a little card that you get given and you get together, sorry, ADHD, can't do that. Or, sorry, ADHD, I'll never be able to improve this, blah, 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 blah. And that's where so much of the conversations around mental health at the moment drive me absolutely bonkers, because it's too surface level and it's too kind of, like, oh man, like so brave for saying that you have this. I'm like, no, I'm not. It's fucking frustrating having ADHD. It's frustrating not being able to concentrate. Well, let's get rid of the label. It's frustrating not being able to concentrate. It's frustrating not being able to sit still, and it's frustrating getting so anxious that I wake up in the middle of the night thinking, why did Sevan take the camera off me? He must hate you. You're a piece of shit human being. Like that's not brave to be those things. It's annoying to be those things. What's brave is actually doing work. What's brave is having the level, having a level of introspection to realize that these things are work. Like you can make changes in your life. You can do things to improve your situation no matter what anyone fucking tells you. You always have the choice to take some action. And what's brave is then taking that action and sticking to it as well. So yeah, I don't know. I get super passionate about conversations around mental health. And I think that I think I piss people off on both sides of the conversation, because I don't think that I necessarily.
Well, if people are attached to something, first, let me see if I understand you correctly. You're basically, I think we see it the same way. Let's say Yami sees you walk across the room and he says, hey, you have an imbalance. And he goes, and you go, what do you mean? And he says, I see your right hip is higher than your left hip, the left side of your hip. And so you start working on it. You put in a practice of some sort of movements to make that adjustment. So there are people who, there's levels of focus, and people who haven't cultivated a lot of focus, we call as people with ADHD. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give you some practices to help you cultivate focus. Okay, what are some of those practices? Well, one of them is to sit here and look at that light that's on the wall, and it's going to move very slowly for the next 60 seconds, and you're just going to watch it and cultivate focus. That's visual focus. And then that I'm understanding you right? It's not your limit. It's not who you're not like what's his name? Logan Aldridge only has one arm.
Yeah.
There's no fixing that.
Yeah.
He has one arm. It's a label that it fits him. But ADHD is something that you could cultivate. It's to say, hey, you're out of balance a little bit. We can fix that. You can cultivate some awareness.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like I said, it should be a guidepost. Those labels should be guideposts to be able to go. I mean, it's broader than just the focus for me. Like it goes to all sorts of things. Like I'm doing a DBT course at the moment, which is amazing. It's for emotional regulation. And that's
what's DBT? What's that?
Dialectical behavioral therapy.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a form of therapy that's focused around helping manage emotions, emotional, like maladaptive emotional responses to stimuli and stuff like that. We could all improve our emotional regulation. So it's something that everyone could kind of do. I mean, some people, this is where it goes back to personality. Like there are just different people that are going to respond more emotionally to situations because they're higher in neuroticism, trait neuroticism, or whatever it is like that. And that's where, are these labels negative, or are these labels guideposts? Yeah. I think we're on the right track, and I'm just kind of waffling here, but saying the same thing. I believe they should be guideposts, and I believe they should be things that help people. And that's a lot of the conversations I try to have around mental health. A lot of the content I try to put out around mental health is very action oriented, very kind of use these tools to make positive changes in your life. Don't get bogged down with identifying with whatever the challenges that you have or face, because that's how you become stuck. And it's not productive for you. It's not productive for anyone that wants to take part in these conversations around mental health.
Do you remember learning what the word focus meant? Because I didn't know. I had no idea what focus was until I was in my 20s, and it was I did some MDMA. I did ecstasy, and I was in a backyard somewhere, and I started focusing, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
You see the world around you, huh?
This is focus. I'm focusing. I'm actually looking at this bird. Like but you hear adults say that to kids all the time. Focus, focus, focus. It was said to me 1,000 times. I had no idea what I didn't even know what it meant. It should have been defined for me when I was 7. Someone should have played a game with me, like rolled a basketball and been like, follow this ball, and done it 10 times.
Do you think that sort of speaks volumes to the way that the schooling systems work? Because that's something I give a lot of thought to as well. Yeah, I had no fucking clue how to focus because it was never taught to us. We're taught how to add and subtract, which we can do on a calculator. These are even emotional regulation. Now that I'm doing this DBT course, like that's something that I'm like, man, why aren't they fucking teaching this in schools? Like, this is how you should be educating people to process their emotions, to deal with them so that they don't get bogged down with them later in life and they don't find themselves in situations where they are emotionally ruled, particularly these days. Like, think about how many kind of emotionally charged conversations and situations kind of escalate because of poor emotional regulation. It's endemic. It's huge. And we're not taught that as kids, really. Like, it's kind of just, it doesn't exist.
It's not talked about. Not for any bad reason. It's just not. It's like like smelling isn't talked about.
Yeah. It's just kind of, it's just like assumed, oh yeah, they'll figure that out.
Yeah. There's a guy, I wonder what you think about this. So by the way, once I learned to focus, I would focus on all my senses. I began, and to this day I do it. I cultivate all of them. I cultivate feeling, not the feelings we're talking about, emotional feelings, but feeling. I cultivate listening. I spend time every day focusing just on my ears and listening. I make sure I listen to the things I listen to it in me. I realize the sounds even though I hear the wind chimes over there, I focus on inside my ears. I cultivate smell. I cultivate, all of them, sight. So you can cultivate awareness of all your 5 senses.
Do you have specific practices? Sorry to ask, because I'm super curious. Yeah. Do you have specific practices for each of those senses and cultivating them? Because I think that you're going to probably get people that are going to listen to this, be like, oh, like, I'd love to hear what he's saying about it. And like, I think that's awesome tools that people can take away. I mean, I'm personally interested as well.
You have to you have to go into all of them. You have to go into all of them. But and I want to share another idea with you.
Go for it.
Well, the first thing is, just to close up, the first thing is you have to spend time alone.
Yes.
You have to spend time alone. And even when you start to meditate, whatever that word means, you have to realize that you could be meditating for like 10 minutes and then just realize, oh shit, I haven't been meditating. And then it will just click in, and then you'll meditate for like 3 seconds, and then it will go away. And then 10 minutes later, you'll be like, oh shit, I haven't been meditating again. And then you'll meditate for 6 seconds. It's a trippy process. I spoke to, do you know who Lord Dorian is? Fitness Lonnie?
Maybe the name.
Old school CrossFitter, became a monastic monk, vanished for 5 years. Yeah. Basically sat in a Buddhist monastery all alone for basically 5 years, more or less. And then he came out recently just to do a trip to Brazil to sit for another 6 months, and I was able to cross paths with him and have him at my house. Fascinating man, Con. I mean,
oh dude, it sounds it
fascinating. But I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, sometimes I'll sit for an hour and I'll realize that I wasn't paying attention at all, and I'll be like, man. He goes, dude, sometimes I'll sit for a month and I'll realize I wasn't listening. I was like, oh shit.
Fuck. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly what you mean, though.
I'm just like, wow.
It's like when you're reading a book and you read 10 pages and you're like, the fuck did I just read? Like, where was I just then? And I love Fuck, that would be, yeah. And you did a podcast with him, or you just had him at your house?
No, I just was lucky enough to have him at my house.
Dude, that's so cool.
So, but there's this mathematician, and he used named P.D. Ouspensky. PD, the letter P, the letter D, and then Ouspensky, just like it sounds. And he was a turn of the century 1900s mathematician. And what the paradigm that he used to explain the brain, and this is to connect to what you were saying about emotion, is he says the slowest part of the brain is the intellect, the talking. Oh, you look in the mirror and you hear the voice say, "Oh, your hair looks good today, Con. Oh, Sevan, you did a good job spreading the clay around in your hair today. Oh, thank you." That's the slowest, and you have control over that one the most. Then the next fastest is emotion, and that one's faster than intellect, and that's why so many people believe it is real. Because intellect you can kind of catch. It can say something and you can manipulate it easy. And you could change it because it's slow, and everyone usually has enough awareness to, I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of people have enough awareness to control their intellect. But emotion, people believe it's real because it shows up, and most people don't have enough awareness.
That's so powerful.
Yeah, they don't have enough awareness to see where it came up from, and they get carried away by it.
Yeah.
So so they think it's real. They turn into a robot. Sorry, I'm going to give you the floor in 1 second. I just want to go to the.
Okay. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I need to.
No. I'm interrupting is my forte. I love an interrupter. And the third fastest is the body, and that's why we can't. And the body learns how to ride a bike, and it learns how to swim. That's why you can't be like, okay, Sevan, this is how you're going to ride a bike. I mean, you could tell me, but my intellect or my emotion will never be fast enough. The body intelligence is super fast, right? Like someone throws a rock at you and it's like this. Your emotion, your intellect is like still asleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then afterwards, your emotion's like so angry someone threw a rock at you, and then your intellect gets a hold of it. It's like, who the fuck threw that? It's like, tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
And then by far the fastest are these things that we say are automatic. Breathing, heartbeat, but people who've cultivated enough awareness know that those aren't even automatic.
Yeah, right.
And that emotion, and then body, then emotion, and then intellect. The crazy part is the only way to watch all of those things is through stillness. So to see all this crazy storm of movement, but that's I don't know if what he's saying is true, but it's an amazing paradigm, right? To look at the unit.
And so he kind of advocates for cultivating awareness at at each different level specifically, like just having that awareness of breathing, your heart beating, and then that being able to feed through into better control. So it's not like automating less of those steps.
So that you're not carried away. I forget what the word you used, but what I think of those things as emotional maturity, emotional IQ. You start to see these things as you start working on them. Someone flips you off, and before you had this practice, it upsets you. But now you see the upsetness come up, and you see it like an alchemist. You let it transform into something else. It just passes through you.
Yeah.
You do not own it. You don't have to own every emotion, every thought, but this takes cultivating awareness.
And I think that's kind of what the DBT stuff that I've been doing is very much about.
And that was my question.
Yeah, it's allowing that. So it's allowing yourself to feel an emotion, to understand it, to label it, and not judge it, to not let it influence. Then, like you said, just let it pass through, to understand that you're not your emotions. That if you let it, like you said, and a lot of the time, emotional responses will have a physiological response. You'll feel anger, and your body will respond physically to that too. And then it's being able to let those things happen, and then bring your intellect into the equation when it's finally back online to be able to get back in control. So I like that. I've never heard of the down, down, down. I really like that kind of, maybe I have, but it's just a nice little reminder.
It's cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah. And I, like I said, it's like we were going back to before, ADHD. It's not so true that you should be attached to it forever, but it is an idea that you can use to help to work on the system.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
But
correct.
like
Agree.
really it's just all one whole, but we're breaking it into 4 pieces so that maybe you could start tinkering with them. Like,
Yeah.
hey, it is just one hip, but let's break it down and say that there's a right and a left. Let's use these ideas to then maybe get them balanced.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. I really like that. Yeah. It's a very cool way of looking at it. Fuck yeah. I love it.
And when the CEO of CrossFit, Eric Rosa, said that he had mental illness, it's a very sensitive issue, right?
Correct.
And some people were, hey, it's so brave of you to come out and talk about mental illness. And my response was, hey, I don't want I don't want my airline pilot coming on the air when we're 30,000 feet over the, when we're flying over Australia 30,000 feet, hey, telling me, hey, I got a fucking mental illness.
Yeah. It's probably again going to piss some people off, but I tend to agree. And that's from someone that has wrestled with serious mental illness. I don't know his circumstances, and I'm not.
By the way, I had serious mental illness too.
Yeah. So when you're mentally unwell,
yeah,
the last thing I want to do when I'm mentally unwell is be tasked with making really big decisions. I don't trust myself to do that. I don't understand. Right. I don't know the circumstances there. I'm not going to make a comment on that specifically, but what I can speak on is my own experiences with it. And that's just, that's my 2 cents on the matter. That said, I think that there should always be a forum for people to be able to speak about mental illness and to speak about the experiences they're going through, particularly, like I've always said, if that's then conducive to, like, it's a productive conversation, that's conducive to action being taken to work on them.
I would love, and I'll own being very harsh to him. I'm not a fan. I mean, for whatever, all on me, personal issues. But I would like to have known. I also think that if I tell you, I believe that if you are in a place to do that, where you have mental illness and you state it, you should also then close the door. And by that, I mean, I would like to know how he healed himself. I'd like to know the rest of that story. If you're going to use that, I would like, I'm trying to give an example. If let's say I called you and I told you I was really frustrated. I go, Con, I'm just so frustrated with my wife right now. And I told you this whole story about how we're not getting along. I feel like I owe it to my wife and to you that 3 days later, when we're getting along again and we're holding hands, to circle back and close that door.
Sure. Yeah. 100%.
I feel like I owe that to you.
Yeah. And I think that comes with the, making sure that conversations around mental health are productive. Like, I completely understand what you're saying with that. Yes. I think I don't think it is necessarily anybody's business, but at the same time, bringing it into the public forum, like I guess that closing of the door is a good analogy.
Have you ever been suicidal?
Yeah.
Or let me be more specific. It's such a broad word. Have you ever thought about ending your life? Have you ever thought, I wonder what my strategy would be
and I've gone so far as to go to Bunnings, which is a hardware store in Australia, and pick up that piping that was like the vacuum pipe to put on the exhaust of the car and put it in the window. That's how I was going to do it.
No shit.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Something I've struggled with over the years has definitely been, I believe it to be more of like suicidal ideation, where it's just, I become so frustrated and overwhelmed by anxiety and various feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, all those bits and pieces, that it just becomes more of a like a quick response where it's like fuck, this is the only way. And like I said, that's kind of, man, like I can.
Is it because it's so noisy? Is it because it's so noisy? Okay.
Big time. There's just so much noise, and all of it, it's so much noise all the time, but there's moments where that noise will all turn dark, and it's so much of that dark noise for such a long period of time that there has been a few, and that being obviously kind of the worst, where that was, like it hits like a ton of bricks, man. And then it was almost like, in doing that, I was doing something productive to deal with the noise. And I'm not saying by any huge fucking, by any stretch of the word, that encouraging, saying that that's productive at all, because it's not. But
going to Bunnies and getting the tubing?
yeah, like
Yeah,
that's
that's not. It's a waste of money. It's a waste
not
of
the
money.
fucking thing to do at all. But yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah, man.
But I feel you. I feel you on it. I feel you on it. I feel you.
Yeah, and it's kind of, and I mean that's why these conversations are so important to me, and being vulnerable, but vulnerability being talking about something with the intent, like closing the door, with the intent to close the door on it, with the intent to move through it, with the intent to work on it. That's why they're so important to me, because there are people that will unfortunately go the whole way through with it. I mean, like suicide's the number one killer of young men in Australia, particularly. I think it's the number one killer of men between 18 and 35. It's a fucking staggering statistic. And it's because people aren't having the right conversations around it. But yeah.
Wait, explain that to me. Explain that to me. They're not having the right conversations about it. And I want to hear the details. So sorry. I got so excited. So you go, I kind of don't want to, I want to hear the details of the story, but when I heard it, when Ricky was doing steroids, all it made me want to do is steroids. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like if I watch a show, like if I watch Mad Men and they're just smoking and drinking and just fucking, like I just want to just like go to the store, get a pack of cigarettes, whiskey, and jump on my wife. You know what I mean? I'm so easily influenced.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to ask you some questions about the tubing, but I don't want to give anyone any ideas.
I think you should probably put like I guess, I don't know if you have, I mean, we're a live show now, so but like on the podcast, like a warning about sort of suicidal ideation. And that is a big thing that people should be aware that they're going to listen to if they are talking about it. Sure.
So let me jump to this. I don't think anyone can be as great as me if they didn't go through what I went through. I approached death so fucking closely and survived, and I realized that there is no me. I survived my own death, and I heard you saying something in that podcast that made me realize that and I've heard you hint to it, not as strongly as you did in that podcast, but that there is no Con Porter. And that's what happens when you die and you don't die. But you have to, outside of like, you drank too much. I think that there's really something healthy about approaching your own death, but you got to survive it.
Yeah, I agree. I think
if you don't, but I don't think that there's a path to enlightenment without approaching your own death is where I'm going. If you want me to
or at least really, really thinking about it.
Yeah. Like to a scary point, you got to scare the shit out of yourself.
Yeah.
Did you ever get scared? I know the voices. I know the loudness is scary as fuck. But I mean, did you ever get? What do I mean by scared?
Yeah, I guess define scared. Did I ever feel like that I was losing, like lost control of myself, or lose like that kind of a fear, or that I would actually go through with it?
Yeah, that you were actually going through with it. Like when you were in the hardware store getting that stuff, were you starting to have like out of body experience?
Yeah, dude, I was on autopilot, the whole fucking thing. Like from the time that I remember I was driving, and this is something I'll do when I'm exceptionally anxious. I'll just drive and I won't really know I won't have anywhere that I'm going. I'm just kind of driving around and this, and the noise and this, blah, 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 blah. And it was just autopilot. Like I was there, but I wasn't. And I was just walk through the store, find it, go back out. And it wasn't until I kind of got home and I was like, what the fuck just happened? And that whole, the whole thing, like the driving, I was driving around this kind of loop on this block, and it's quite far from my house, and then just circled back, went there, got it, went back home. Then I just went back into the house and put it up in the car. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
and you had tubing to hook up to do you still have that tubing?
I believe it might still be in the cupboard at my place back home. I think, I don't know if it's been thrown out yet because I moved my stuff out when I came over here, or moved my stuff into storage. And I don't know. I think it may have been thrown out either before that. My ex or my partner at the time, she might have thrown it out while I was away, or probably got rid of it. But I don't know if it's still there. I have to ask her.
I was just thinking of something funny you could do with it, like burn it as like a celebration, or maybe like I was going to say something really dark. Hey, I decided not to kill myself. Who needs this?
Oh, you could create like a little tubing, one of those,
Yeah.
just make a little sculpture or something. But yeah, it was fucking a fucking potent experience. I think
How old were you?
it wasn't that long ago. It was the same house. I want to say 2019, 2020. Kind of
Is
2020,
it? Do
2019,
you think you think you won, or that's there?
that's there as in like that will always be something I have to wrestle with.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you even something. Even let me hold that thought for a second. Let's say there was a CrossFit gym on the East Coast, and the guy, everyone loved him in the community. He was the owner of the gym, and he was a firefighter, and it found out that he was molesting kids in the gym, and he killed himself. Like there's some logic to that, right? Whether
Yes.
like he probably wasn't happy with his behavior. As much as I and it probably happened to him. That's why he had that fucking behavior, right? And then another example might be like soldiers, right? Let's say you go overseas and you kill women and children for your country, and then you come home, and then you have to live with that, right? With what you did, and you can't face it. But it wasn't like that for you, right?
Yeah, I think I understand.
By that I mean you weren't running from something.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to ask here is, do I think like why? Why did I get to that point? And
yeah,
why?
like what was that like I wasn't running from anything.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like I'm not running from anything except myself. And I think
Yeah,
that's where that idea of trying to figure out like this is its whole thing, because I know logically and objectively I can sit back and look at Khan Porter, and this is, I mean, maybe this will be like that whole idea of this concept of Khan Porter, and I can look at the concept of Khan Porter and I can see this thing that you could look at and you could think you know and understand and see, and that thing, that concept has no reason to feel like that. There is no logic. There is no chain of I'm running from X or this being in any way. It is not justifiable like that. But it doesn't, and this is where it becomes this fucking, and in of itself becomes this own form of push-pull, where I logically know that, and I logically feel that, yet this noise will still rise, and it will still get dark, and it will still make me feel the way that it feels, and that feeling is so potent, like we spoke about before, that it will drive me to believe that that is the outcome I need to pursue. And that the frustration in that it is difficult to articulate, because it's this awareness that what I'm doing is illogical. I'm not running from anything. There's no driving reason behind that. It's just that my head,
like my life should be perfect. What the fuck is going on?
exactly. And my head, and that's where it becomes like there is something that I will always wrestle with. There is a darkness in me that I will always wrestle with. But this is what I talk about with that Conversations of Productive Mental Health. This is where sharing my mental health journey is about empowering people to actually fucking do something about it. Because I know in those moments of logic that is the wrong decision to make. And I think that it's why I'm, working on the emotional regulation and all this kind of stuff, to allow myself to step back from the noise and to let the noise occur without it being so powerful that it drives me to do that. Because yeah, you're right. Like it isn't something, there's no, I had random shit happen to me when I was young that kind of made me, insecure, upset, all these kind of things but that everyone goes through. And I understand that. And this is where the personality stuff's interesting. How we respond to different things is so profoundly different, that how it then shapes our thought process when we're older. Fuck, super interesting. But yeah, like I understand from that kind of pragmatic perspective that is in fact the way, that was illogical, that is an illogical kind of thing. And that, yeah, this concept, this Khan Porter shouldn't think that, and Khan Porter shouldn't have that. But then what I'm now doing now is trying to integrate the idea that I'm allowed to have those thoughts and they can come and go. And like you said, like people should think about their own death in some capacity. And being able to wrestle with that is a skill in itself. But yeah, it's being able to let the noise come up, let the darkness kick in, and then being able to kind of ride through that, sit with that, move through that in a healthy way.
Why not just drink yourself to death?
Oh, fuck me, mate. It's a whole other topic of conversation. I've wrestled with the bottle for years, bud. Like,
oh, you have?
And it's something that I've kind of only just started to talk about, my unhealthy relationship with alcohol, and back in the
like
day.
just you know what I mean? Just anytime it gets noisy.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And I learned.
I mean, I do that in the smallest. I used to do that just all the time. Even just one drink. It's getting a little noisy.
Dude, 100%. And I can resonate.
Just throw down one beer. Just quiet that fucker.
Yeah, exactly right. But mine was kind of, and I mean, I even went to therapy to try and get actual help to deal with changing my relationship to alcohol and going from drinking being a means of self-medication, quieting the noise. And that was one of the, it's one of the early experiences you have with that. You drink and then you go, fuck, like I feel all of a sudden it does quiet down for a little bit. What quietens down while you're fucking drinking, then you wake up the next day and it's noisier than fucking ever. That was what it got to the point.
More alcohol though.
What alcohol?
I said more alcohol.
Oh, exactly.
Day drinking.
Yeah, bro.
But I kind of mean it seriously. Why couldn't you
because I made a decision that I don't want to, that's not the person that
why didn't you just drink yourself to death? Okay.
Because that's not the person I want to be. Because if nothing else, I have a point to prove to myself. You look at what I'm talking about when I say that I'm here at the right time and I'm in the right frame of mind to be here. It's because I'm ready to prove to myself that, you talk about the dark, talk about the noise and the dark thoughts, and inevitably they turn pretty self-deprecating. And I use self-deprecating humor a lot as a way of, it's almost like a coping mechanism. And I think it's a very Australian thing too. But like that dark noise is kind of so self-deprecative and so kind of critical that I just feel like it would be so easy. And Australian culture is such a big drinking culture as well. It's so easy to kind of get bogged down and just to be able to distract yourself with numbing, with mindless numbing. And don't get me wrong,
that shit away.
Dude, I still enjoy a beer. I still enjoy a glass of wine. We went out after the quarterfinals, but even that, like we went out and I had all the tools. I could have gone out and had a big night that night. I chose not to because it's just trying to consistently make decisions, because it's not like I'm 2 years old, man. I don't want to be this, like I want, I don't want to numb that because life is beautiful. The world is fucking incredible. There is so much that is worth enjoying and savoring and being a part of in existence. Like fucking existence is phenomenal. And when you touch moments of that pure existence, and I'm touching it more and more regularly, being so fully present and understanding that the world is fucking beautiful and we're a part of that, and that you have to choose to step into that. You have to choose to kind of actively work at being a part of that. Like that's enough for me to go, hey, like, let's not just fucking numb yourself for the rest of your life and float on through. So yeah, that's why, because there's more to life than feeling like shit. And you really have to actively want to step into that, because it's fucking good when you do. And those moments of pure existence, let's call it, those moments of just feeling so at one with myself and with the world, fuck, like I can cling to those when the noise starts to come back. And yeah, like it's just, and it's a simple equation as well. Like, what is this actually doing? How is this benefiting me? How is drinking myself stupid 3 out of 4 weekends in a row? Like, how is that?
Well, it's to give you reprieve. It's to give you reprieve, right? I mean, you have to.
What's the cost? That was what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, long term, there's no end, right? It's just a slow form of suicide, right?
It really is.
Hey, are you up for the fight?
Sometimes you're like, you're gonna fuck your life up in more other ways.
Yeah. Do you ever think, wow, I'm up for this? I'm up for this fucking fight. Do you ever like go the opposite way? Like get really like instead of like being dark, be like, I'm gonna whoop your ass. I got this. I fucking
for sure, absolutely.
I'm totally up for this fight.
That's a big. Yeah, I mean, you look at the things that I love the most about CrossFit are the workouts where you just have to fucking go to that place, like push yourself to the point where the world's closing in around you. And I fucking live for the opportunities to do that, because when I walk into a workout like that, where I'm like, man, the only limiting factor here is how dark can I go? Fuck, bring it on. And I live for that. And I live for that because, yeah, I'll channel that and I'll be like, yeah, this is like, let's do this. Let's fucking push to that brink. Yeah, absolutely. It's very empowering sometimes.
What about well, I want to talk about girls, but first I want to say something else. In this interview, by the way, I wish I could remember the name of the interview. It's very easy to find if you type in Con Porter podcast
And Mindset RX.
Say it again.
Mindset RX.
Mindset RX. He articulates some very, very powerful things, especially in the first 30 minutes, that will really let you see that he knows what he's talking about. He defines some very, very important words like awareness. I highly recommend listening to it. It has nothing to do with mental health. It gives you tools to any human being, good or bad, happy or sad, healthy or not healthy, to start to look at themselves. So I highly recommend it. It's fun. The first half hour for sure is fun as shit. You in that interview, you talk about your mom as being extremely progressive.
Mm.
The kids that I see that have the most progressive parents, I think, leads to the most mental health issues.
Yeah, I can see that.
And let me tell you why. Well, do you want to tell me why?
I think, first of all,
and I don't think there's anything wrong with adults being progressive.
Yeah,
but kids need, but kids is a different. There's a different creature here. A kid is not a small adult. There's something different.
Yeah, I think it was more a product of the kind of self-esteem movement at the time, and that being kind of touted as the way that you needed to raise your kid, was to instill so much self-esteem and make them feel special, because the real world, what happened was that was not how my early experiences with the real world were. Like, I was very much the outcast, and I was very different, all that sort of stuff. So for me, that was where this paradox existed of, why is mum saying that everything's good and you're amazing and you're special, and then the world saying you're a weirdo, why is your nose weird, why are you fat, like all this kind of shit like that. So I had this weird I didn't really know where I fit and how I was supposed to take both praise and criticism. I didn't know how to, what was
the criticism was coming from where? Inside?
Peers.
Okay. Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah,
and mom's telling you, oh, you're so beautiful, and you go to school and they're like, you're fat.
Yeah, exactly that, man. Exactly. And can I just please also say as well, I fucking adore my mother, and she's a fucking human being.
Yeah. And you made that very clear in the podcast too. And what's funny is, I thought you were defending in the podcast. I misunderstood. I thought you were saying that having progressive parents was wonderful, but go on. I misunderstood. And it is very obvious you love your mom and cherish your mom, by the way. This is not a dig.
I think progressiveness, it depends on what the progressiveness is. I think that they were very open-minded, and I think it gave me a genuine curiosity for the world and a genuine willingness to try and understand people and situations, and always, I guess, look for multiple different ways that you can view different situations and be open-minded and accepting of everyone. So I think that they instilled that in us, me and my brothers, which was really cool. But yeah, that progressiveness in terms of I think the overly, that coddling, it's a great word. Have you read the book, The Coddling of the American Mind? I love that word, coddling.
No, I should. I like coddling.
You'll enjoy it. But yeah,
I like dollop too. Do you like dollop?
Dollop, yeah, good dollop of cream on there.
No, yeah, dollop, yeah, dollop. I like coddling too, but for some reason I love a dollop.
But yeah, no, yeah, that's kind of it, man. Like, I think that kind of paradox really did play a role in how my anxiety manifested and my own sense of self kind of.
Can I? I want to. So that anxiety, I'm going to give you my 2 cents on that.
Mm-hmm.
When you give your kids really firm boundaries, so there's no TV unless it's Friday and Saturday when the sun's down. There can be no light in the sky. You're never to touch my cell phone. You never touch the fucking car keys. You always put your dirty clothes in the hamper. There's no putting your Hot Wheels on the walls. When you give your kid really strict boundaries and they understand their environment, it sets them free. They waste no time. So I watch parents every day in jiu-jitsu, like they argue with they two tug and war with the kids, the mom's cell phone and the kid. And I'm like, you're wasting, like if your kid had boundaries, your kid would be free during that 15 minutes where you fight with them every day to do other shit, to catch lizards in the corner, to walk around and pick up broken pieces of glass, just whatever fucking shit kids do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go in the bathroom and push his penis inside of them, just whatever, Remember doing that as a little kid?
All sorts of weird shit. Yep.
Yeah. I forgot all the weird shit I used to do with my penis, but now I have 3 little boys. I'm like, holy shit. I forgot they do the disappearing penis thing. Like they're in the shower and I'm watching them, they push. I'm like, oh wow, I forgot. I don't do the disappearing penis anymore. I just soap myself and think about my interview with Con Porter. I need to do more disappearing penis.
I still do a little bit of those kind of things every now and again. Like make sure Tola's not home. Like up in the corner, get the phone, go sell real cheap. All right, let's see what I can do now.
And so that's a huge part if the kid. And then the other thing is the parent is in control. And my friends who let their kids make decisions as they get older, what happens is that the kids become the alpha of the house and they make all the decisions. And that starts putting the kid unconsciously starts to take ownership of the happiness of the entire family. So let's say I tell my kid to get in the car and they're playing a video game or something. That's it. I take the video game, I put it away, I carry and put him in the car. And the kid might be screaming and throwing a fit, but someone might think what I'm doing is I'm taking the anxiety away from my child. The child knows I'm in control.
Yeah.
I determine when we go. I determine when we come back. And the decisions they make are in the shower, whether they're going to turn their penis inside out. The decisions they make are when they're out in the backyard, which piece of glass they're going to pick up and collect in their kit. But there's other decisions that the parent has to make to control the environment so that the kid doesn't feel responsible for anyone else.
Yep. Yeah.
And when the kid starts to feel responsible for their parents' happiness and the happiness of the group, that's where the mental illness creeps in as they get older, as anxiety. And the other thing is exploration. So there's this parents reacting to their kids. So I saw a mom drop a kid off the other day and say, make sure at jiu-jitsu and say, make sure you drink water. No, you don't tell your kid that. That's you projecting onto your kid. Your kid's going to have an experience if he gets thirsty that he's going to drink water. And that's a really benign one. But let's say my boy was like, oh my God, I want the Captain America costume so bad. I don't even acknowledge him. Oh my God, I want the Elsa dress so bad. I don't even acknowledge him. But there's parents who they think that they're being open with their child. And they'll be like, oh yes, let's walk over to the computer and get you the Elsa dress. And you start rewarding the child for talking to you, for getting the Elsa dress. And you don't realize that deep, deep, deep down inside, what this child wants is attention from you and love from you and to be fed by you emotionally, intellectually, and actually nurture. And if they can get that by talking about Elsa dresses, but no, I'm a progressive parent and I'm not against my son wearing an Elsa dress. But the kid's not even there. The kid's just trying to find anything to be fed, to get shelter, love, and food. And now you think you were being open to something, but they're just flies. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? And there's a benign negligence that has to be given to kids that I think they're given too much attention. And it's like, you have to give them attention, but it's like you have to meditate on them.
Yeah, I think that takes, and I think that in of itself probably is a true form of progressive parenting. I mean, it's hard for me to say. I don't have kids. I can't tell you how I'm going to be as a dad.
You're going to be a great dad, by the way. You're going to be an amazing dad.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I do want to have kids one day for sure, but it just hasn't happened yet. But that I know of. But yeah, I admire your first of all, the level of introspection that you've obviously done to get to a place where you are so conscious of the way that you are parenting and like being comfortable with what is probably a really uncomfortable thing like that. Like, was there some sort of negligence?
Like a benign negligence.
Negligence.
Yes. You have to meditate on your child, not react to your child.
Yeah, dude. And I just feel like that's just very, very impressive. And that's something that's kind of very cool. It's something I think I've seen through your posts about your parenting and stuff like that, that I have always looked at and gone, fuck, that's really cool. And there's a lot of stuff that I think I've seen in you posting about your kids that I've looked at and gone, oh, that's like, particularly someone that like me, who is aware that I can be emotionally reactive, again, something I'm working on, to go, fuck, that's powerful. Like, yeah, being able to sort of sit with the discomfort that comes with not becoming emotionally invested in an emotional outcome that happens with your kid and stuff. So yeah, whilst I can't speak about being a parent personally, it's yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, and I think I tend to agree.
It's unsettling to me to see so many of my dearest friends. In the simplest term, I see them, they behave as grandparents, but they're the parents. Like the stuff my parents do stuff to my kids that I would never do. Like my kids fall down and my mom and dad go over and pick them up, and I let them have that experience. But when my kids fall down, you know, the example I like to always use is I go over and make sure that it's a safe environment for them to stand up.
Yeah.
But I don't pick them up.
Yeah.
I just make sure they're safe. I make sure they're safe, because in the end, and you know this more than anyone, Con, you're only going to fix you.
Yeah. 100%. Oh, fuck. 100%.
No one's coming. No one's coming to fix your mentals. Just like you can't be like, hey, Annie, go ahead, take the day off. I'm going to do the workouts for you, and you're going to get the fitness. It's as absurd as that to think someone's going to help you with your mental health, right?
For sure.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
You can work out side by side by Annie. She can push you. She can inspire you. She can have the facility. But at the end of the day, it's all on you.
Yeah. And that's where I was just about to draw, like just sort of counter that and say that people can help, but they're not going to fix it. No.
Right. And they can believe in you.
Yes, which is so fucking powerful. Belief in, and like someone's willingness to understand you and someone's willingness to listen to you can't be understated as tools to helping someone with their mental health. But you cannot fix someone. And I've learned that from trying to help people and seeing like you can, one of my favorite sayings, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And it's so profoundly true when it comes to anything. You can give someone all the tools in the world, but that person still has to press go.
It's amazing how many times in my life that people brought me to water and I didn't see them. I didn't see the water. I didn't see shit.
Oh, mate, I've been there. I've been there too. And they'll take you to water and you'll be dying of thirst. You just turn around and start eating the sand.
Yes. Yes. It's nuts. It took you 9 years to reach your goal for a back squat.
Yeah. Dude, my fucking squat. And don't ask me what my squat is now.
Why is it not your PR squat anymore?
I doubt I'd have 200 in me now. I think I walked into a CrossFit gym and I was like, right, squatting 200 was the benchmark that I set myself. And
200 kilos.
200 kilos. So
which is 440? Okay.
Yeah. Which is by no stretch a huge back squat at that top end of the sport. Like most guys are squatting that for reps. I mean, I'd assume, I don't know. Tola definitely is. It's a fucking humbling experience lifting with that guy every day. You kind of lose perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took, I don't know, squats just never been my movement, and my snatch and work, all those kind of things have progressed consistently. But yeah, the squats just always been something that took a long time. And it took me doing like a 12-week strength program at the back of 2020 into like summer, doing another strength program and just a squat specific program to get that 200. And I also ate like shit and put on a bunch of weight and got out of shape, but got there.
Do you like squatting?
No, I fucking hate it.
Yeah, me too. I hate it too.
It just doesn't feel nice on my body at all.
I would rather, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I front squat a lot with a 40-pound med ball, like a lot, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot for me. I do like 10 sets of 10 mixed with something at least 3 times a week. So Yeah, but I would rather do something with some weight to push me down than air squats. Even I don't like air squats.
I'll probably go the opposite way, and so I prefer the air squat.
Yeah.
I've never found like front squat, back squat. I just feel like it takes so much out of my body, and yeah, we're kind of working at the moment. Yami's been really good again at kind of looking at me squatting and playing around with squat volume at what is what amount, at what percent, like percentage work. I'm someone that does not do well with building to a heavy consistently. I have to do percentage work, then build to a heavy. And so we've been kind of playing around with the volume and how that kind of looks, and it's been good. But yeah, I don't think I'd stand 200 up at the moment.
Are all of you super different?
So
where's Tola from?
Tola's from Boston. I think he grew up.
Wow.
East Coast.
Wow. Speaking of progressive. So he, and then you're from Australia and Annie's from Iceland, and
Lauren's, she's based in San Diego, and I think she's been there for a while.
Yeah, and she grew up in Stockton, California, which is a trip. Yeah, that's a trippy place. Have you ever been there?
No, that's the Diaz brothers are there, yeah?
Yeah. So it's nowhere.
Yeah, right.
It's nowhere.
So is it Northern California?
It's like it's hood.
Yeah,
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Like I mean, it's like really hard. It's like not hard like city hard. It's like country hard.
Oh fuck.
Like tough guy country guys. Like it's it's the real deal, man. Like they're like I think she trained with Gabe Subri out of there. Do you remember him? Old time games athlete.
He was around right back when I was starting, I think.
He was probably
a name that was on the kind of CrossFit game scene.
He was one like you could have like a job and be a CrossFitter.
Yeah. Back in those when we started. Oh, the glory days. Now it's like your full-time job is making sure your knees aren't too sore.
Is I think of what's Annie? I mean I've talked with Annie, I don't know, 100 times, but how would you describe what Annie's like? There's this Rich Froning type air around her.
Yeah, I think she's so fucking good for starters. Like she's so good. Here's a like she's so good. She's so competitive, but in like I think a healthy way, in a way that's kind of just her pushing herself and pushing us to be better. And here's a great story that shows like we were doing a workout. It was 3 rounds. She did a minute of bar facing burpees, rested 30 seconds. And then it was 12 sets of 30 seconds sprint on the assault bike, 15 seconds rest, 3 minutes rest, repeat that 3 times. So we were all told to pick, it was like sprint, but controlled sprint on the assault bike with your 30 seconds on, 15 off. And we were all told to pick an aggressive, and everyone was there that day. It was me, Tola, Fred, Annie, BK, Kat, Lauren. We were all doing it. And we're told to keep an aggressive pace for those sprints. And then when we hit them, kind of finished the sprints, and the first thing Annie did was come along and look at all of the guys' bikes to see if she beat any of us, what our calories were that we got, what we were holding. And that was the benchmark in an assault bike sprinting workout where you're like, man, that should just be, it shouldn't even be like a comparative thing. She was there and she was annoyed that she could have gone a bit harder and maybe matched a couple of the guys and that sort of thing. So her work, like her approach and her mindset like that is unbelievable. And she's very much, I mean, yeah, like she put the team together and everything like that. So she definitely kind of leads us in that respect, but she's amazing. Like you really can't, you would have to spend time in this environment to really appreciate just how good it is, just how good it would be for anyone to walk into.
Did you say it's 12 sets, 30 on, 15 off?
Yeah. After your 1 minute of bar facing burpees.
Do you realize, or are you just too fit that like 99% of the world can't make it through half that workout?
Oh, everyone can make it through the workout, but probably not holding the paces.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. Do you feel okay after you do that? That's
the other crazy thing about this environment. Like, no,
that's gnarly. That is a gnarly workout, dude.
But Dude, that's the crazy thing about being here. I've always loved workouts like that, and I've always loved doing them, but I've done them sparingly. It's like you do something that makes you feel that way once every few weeks, or maybe even more. And I'm like, man, do I still like this CrossFit shit, or am I done with this? And I'll just go in and I'll be like, do that workout, and then I'll finish and I'll be like proper fucked up and go, okay, no, I still want to do this. I'm still willing to go there. Put it that way. Do we do that like 3-4 times a week? It's fucking absurd.
What do you do after? What do you do after that? Like in the 10 minutes after that, are you like, do you not know who you are? Like if I did that, I would not know who I would have to sit down for an hour. I'm not joking. I would have to be like, okay, something's not right. I'm not even sure who I am.
Yeah. You get very good at just the absurd places you go. And like Yami structures our training really well. He knows when we've got those sessions and not to do anything like it's usually second session and all that sort of stuff. So he does it really well where we're not having to it. But yeah, you go to another place and you're just, but there, I don't know, this is what I mean. There's a sense of gratification in that. I feel like fucking shit, but good after a workout like that. And
like Superman just fought the Hulk. Like you just fought the Hulk and you're like, well, that was cool.
Kind of comes back into your body finally. And then you're like, fuck, I got shit done in that session. You feel good.
Do you know that feeling where you're sick and it comes on very, very quickly, like food poisoning or like you drink, and all of a sudden, no, you can't do all your awareness starts focusing on your body.
Yep.
And you're like, you're focused on your tongue and maybe your stomach and your anus and like your hands are tingling and it's such a unique, it's the body taking like very serious look at itself, inventory, the physical body, and the brain is like, or the awareness is like scanning it. That's kind of what happens when you do one of those crazy assault bike workouts, right? All of a sudden, all your awareness is like, okay, the whole system is something's wrong.
Yeah, it's like, literally, it's like you do something's wrong, and someone's like, "Do you hear the music?" You're like, you don't fucking hear shit. There is nothing happening. It's just this complete presence in your body, and yeah, it's like, "Whoa, my quads are pumped." You don't even realize that your breathing is just going out of control, and yeah, it's surreal, but it's cool because like, what the fuck else can you do that makes you feel like that? Like it's
no, I don't know. Only being sick.
Yeah,
like being near vomitous is the only thing I can think of when you're like like the outside world kind of vanishes and you're like, okay, what the fuck is wrong with this thing? It's like you're a robot and someone like short circuited you.
Yeah, and your body is just like when you do a really bad thing. I think there's like certain workouts that I've done and I've finished and I've been like, holy fucking shit, I have done something to my body and I will never get better. Like I think it's like a 1K trip. Yeah, it's like, yep, that's it. I'm stuck in here now. This is my life for the rest of my life now. My body is just lactic acid. Like you finish a 1K row and you fucking max effort it, and you finish and you're like, sweet, and then you're like, no, and your body just shuts down, and that's like, yeah, that's wild. Like that feeling, that's it. That's another level again, where it's that complete max out of your body.
No,
no,
not euphoric.
After you feel euphoric? Oh no, yeah. Before that, it's not euphoric.
It's not euphoric. Oh man, it's not euphoric. So best training environment you've ever been in?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And that's to take nothing away from my wonderful friends back home. I think the problem with back home and my training environment there is it's recreational for everyone that I train with. They come in, they're happy to kind of throw down. When they get bored of that program, they want to go on a different program. And then me being me, it's just like I would rather do what they want to do because then I've got people to train with. Even last year, once they finished the quarterfinals, because a bunch of the boys made that, it was kind of, they just wanted to float around. And it's too easy in that training environment for me as well to be like, hey boys, it's sunny outside. Like, let's session 2 today, we'll go for a surf. Or hey boys, like let's make sure we finish our training on Saturday by 12 so we can get to the pub by 2. So yeah, by far, and for so many different reasons, even the access to like the other members of the team, the other members that I'm there with, everyone's knowledge, the amount of knowledge that they have is so ridiculously good that in of itself is such a cool part of it. Like Tola, for example, guy fucking knows a lot about lifting and strength and all that kind of training and stuff. He's a brilliant coach too. So I'll be lifting and he'll come over and he'll kind of give me a couple of pointers. Hey man, like I noticed that you did blah, 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 blah. Why don't you try and do that? And it's never done in kind of an egotistical way either. It's very much, it's an environment where every single person there is completely invested in everyone else getting better in whatever way they can.
What about the sun? What about I'm guessing your exposure to the sun has gone way down.
This is, yeah, bro, it's terrible. And that's been one of the hardest things. Like when I say it's getting better now, but when we first got here.
You had 15 minutes of sun today?
Yeah, kind of not quite sun today. Well, we had sun yesterday. It was, and it got up to 10 degrees yesterday. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. You guys have stupid measurement systems in America.
We do.
Get that changed for us, mate. But it's like, yeah, that's hard, bro. And when we first got here, it was dark when we go to the gym, dark by the time we'd finish. You might get a half hour in the middle of the day where the sun poked its head out, but it was usually or raining and so cold that you didn't want to go outside. So that sun exposure or lack thereof has been challenging, but it seems to be getting better. It's definitely lighter for longer now, so the light stays good until it's light now until after 9 p.m. and it's the birds start fucking having a good go at about 4:30 in the morning, which is lovely, fucking right outside the window. But yeah, that not having the ability to just be outside at your leisure is something that it was different. I'm gonna say it's bad, but it's just different.
If you have to go to the bathroom, you can just go.
No, that's just me.
Oh, no, I didn't even notice you were moving. I just looked we've been an hour and a half, and I always know that, like, if I have to go to the bathroom, I just go. So I wanted you to know that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm just progressively pissing myself a little bit more and a little bit more, so now I'll be able to go.
What time is it there right now?
It's 3:30 p.m. or 3:36.
And are you done training for the day?
Yeah, we had Monday off after the quarterfinals, and then we had yesterday was kind of just a little bit of zone 2. Tola and I went in this morning, did a little bit more zone 2 work, and then some bodybuilding and some kind of accessory stuff. But we've got today, and then we're back to training tomorrow. And the first thing we're doing is the quarterfinals event 2, I believe. Redoing that.
Oh, interesting. I want to ask you about that. What does zone 2 mean? What is that when you say you did zone 2?
Zone 2 cardio. So your heart rate's like keeping the heart rate. It's like you have your heart rate zones. I'm by no means an expert on this as well. These are things that I'm learning as I've been here. It's been like going back to school for me, which has been really fucking cool. But it's just keeping your heart rate at a certain level, improving your aerobic fitness. And I'm sure there's someone that will know a way better explanation.
Okay. But as far as someone will tell you, hey, today's zone, you need to do zone 2 training today. You say, what's that? They say, keep your heartbeat between X and Y. Yeah. And you do.
Yeah, it's like effectively conversational pace for an extended period of time. And there's a myriad of benefits to that, just building the aerobic system and I guess improving your body's ability to take blood to the muscles and whatnot. And again, I'm probably butchering this.
No, it's fine. It's good.
I'm the point you in the direction of what I need to do and tell me what to do.
Yeah, I don't need to know more than that either. And what bodybuilding movements do you do? And is that for fun? Or is that
No, it was today we did a lot of the athletic truth group stuff, which is like that knee health. So like the ATG split squats, some stuff for the tibialis raises, calf raises. What else did we do? We did do some curls at the end. Why not?
and is that just for fun? Just like you and Tola will just go, it's not part of your programming. You'll do some curls or you'll do bench press or you'll do.
We don't deviate too much from the program. Like zone 2 stuff we can add in as well. Today was definitely just both he and I feel better after doing something the day before going back to training. So I'd had 3 days of complete nothing. I'd feel like shit training tomorrow. So I just wanted to move around, do these kind of accessory movements that not super heavy, not super hard, just to get my joints moving so that my body feels good. Gone are the days where I can just jump into a session, Sevan, and not warm up and have done nothing beforehand.
Yeah.
The old body needs a little bit of priming.
Con, do you ever do sit-ups with a dumbbell in your hands?
I've never done sit-ups with maybe in the past. I can't remember a time that I have.
I meant to ask Rich about that if he still does that. When I filmed, I'd never seen anyone do this before. I guess it makes sense. When I filmed with Rich in 2009 or 10 at Tennessee Tech, him and Darren Hunsucker would do sit-ups with a 100-pound dumbbell on their chest.
Jesus.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Abs, huh? Maybe I need to do sit-ups with a 100-pound dumbbell on my chest.
Just moving a 100-pound dumbbell around, like if I were to take it off the rack and put it back on, I'd be like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah, it's definitely one that I prop up on on the shoulder rather than just carry in front. It's fucking heavy, those bad boys.
That event when you guys took 30th, that's just bullshit? Like you guys could smash that and take first in that too? Or
I don't know if we'd take first in it. We could definitely move quicker than we did. There's so much that went into that. We moved too slow. That's the simplest way to put it. And there was a variety of reasons. Were you
guys afraid of Andrew Hiller?
We were wanting to adhere to the standards, like, and what he's doing is working, because we definitely were like, man, like we're super conscious of making sure that the standards are held up, and that's good. That's a positive thing. But knowing that we've put together this team that's a quote unquote super team, so there's going to be kind of probably extra scrutiny on our movement. We really oversold the standards on that in a lot of different ways, but we also then just completely overpaced it. Like we were just fucking slow to the ground, slow up, step together, nice little 2-foot takeoff. We were waiting for everyone and saying like, go for the runs and stuff like that. And yeah, the other thing we were really conscious of was we were so far behind the line. So there was like that much space between our heads and the line. And we kind of interpreted the standards to be that way. And to the point where we even stopped the workout midway through because we weren't happy with the first set of Yami wasn't happy with
shit.
And also that we jumped over the line for the first shuttle runs, and Toller and I hadn't turned to face the way that we were supposed to run, and he said that the girls had gone too quickly. So we came back and literally restarted because we wanted the standards to be spot on for that. And that's
okay. I want to hear the details about that. So you guys are in the workout and Yami goes, and you just hear this stop.
Yeah, dude. So
that takes some balls to do that. Can you imagine saying that to you, Con Porter, Tola, Lauren Fisher, and Annie Thor's daughter, and be like, stop.
So we also
that takes some fucking cojones.
Well, Tola and I also called the girls back from their shuttle because we didn't think that they'd waited. So what we read in the stands, where you had to jump, all the team members had to be over the line facing the direction of the shuttles before you could take off on the shuttles. So the idea was we'd finish the burpees and I would call go for the girls to go when we were all over the line facing forward.
Yeah.
And I had jumped across. I hadn't said go, and they'd taken off. And we're like, come back, come back, come back. And then they ran back, and then Yami was just like, stop, go again. And he was like, I think that there was a couple of us that were too close. A couple of the guys were too close to the line. He's like, the head was over the line as well. Make sure that we're right behind it. And yeah, I mean,
how much rest do you get between doing it and then doing it again?
We'd only done 15 burpees. We didn't have too much rest. It was probably like 2-3 minutes. It was kind of just back to the start. All right, everyone calm. Let's go again.
Are people nice to each other before the start? So here's why I asked this. When I used to run the media team at CrossFit, all the filmmakers had different processes, and one of the guys on the team, his whole thing was just to complain the whole fucking time. But I learned that was just his process. Just to bitch and complain. And so it's like you have to know everyone's process to get to point B.
And we're learning that, my friend. Yeah, we definitely all have very different processes when it comes to everything, training, food, nutrition, recovery, but very much so when it comes to competing. And that was certainly on display over the course of the weekend. Like everyone's nice to each other. Like we get along fantastically, but there's certainly times where it's just kind of, I'm very much tell me when we're going, because I'm going to warm up a specific amount of time. And then by the end, you just like the last workout, for example, like, what time are we going? They said 1:10. I was like, all right, cool. We went at 1:45. So I'd warmed up, and it was just at the end, I was just kind of leaning on a runner, like, you good to go? I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Like, I'm not going to warm back up again. And so I think we're still kind of feeling that out. I think it will be good when we are doing like the semifinals and we have a set time that we have to go, because I think that is very much going to be that will help us tailor that kind of the prep and the process before we get ready. But yeah, we all certainly do have very different approaches. Even just like I'm very much not laissez-faire so much as just a kind of, I'll use when I'm nervous, I'll just crack jokes. Whereas when Paul is nervous, he'll just go quite stoic and quiet. And it's that kind of different idea of, you know, my nervous energy going into that versus him being very internal and everything like that, and learning to kind of be like, he's allowed, like they can say, shut the fuck up, calm, we're annoyed with you now. And I'll be like, cool, that's no worries. I'll go and fucking tell jokes to the wall. That's fine. I'll go and annoy someone else. But yeah, we're learning that, man. But everyone, it's good. Like everyone is super understanding of those different processes too. And that's part of coming together as a team. That's a huge part of this whole journey. Like we put together a team and we have to kind of figure out how to do that.
Is Lauren, has anyone on that team had team experience?
Yeah, Lauren and Tola. I went team 2019 and we made the games, but we got cut first and we didn't do very well. And Lauren's podiumed on a team before. I believe she came second in 2019 with her team. And that was when it was the super teams, like the super teams. You didn't have to train together or anything.
Was that Invictus?
Yes. Yeah. And then Tola's been on a bunch of teams. I think he's been to the games twice on a team as well. So yeah, I think Lauren once or twice on a team. Tola definitely at least twice, maybe more on a team. And then this is Annie's first foray into the teams world, and then my second time.
Wow. Yeah. So that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I mean, she is a very unique creature.
Annie?
What she did taking third place at the games last year. I mean, part of me wants to say it's equivalent to winning the fucking CrossFit Games. To come back, I don't think people can come back. I don't think if you take time off this sport, you come back. But to come back and take third, and she had a kid.
But mate, you spend a week here in this training environment and with your arm particularly to see you understand. You understand very quickly.
She's built a good team around her.
Which is not to diminish the exceptional nature of what she did by any stretch.
Right.
At all. It's not to be like, oh, it would be easy. Anyone could do it in this environment, because no, fucking nobody else. Like, I don't know if anyone else could do it even in this environment. But when you spend time with her, when you spend time with Yami, and when you spend time with Fred and the rest of the team that are around her all the time, you understand how it happened. You understand how it happened. But again, doesn't take away from the spectacular nature of it happening.
I don't think a lot of people realize the emotional journey of physical exhaustion. So when you have kids, you start to see it really, really quick. So like I would go to a soccer field and I'd be like, okay, boys, we're going to run 5 laps. And I would give them each a ball and they would kick a ball. And every lap was different. One lap, they'd be laughing. The next lap, they'd be crying. The next lap, they'd be angry at their brother. The next lap, they'd be like, look how good I am. And then the next lap, they would be quiet. And it's a whole emotional journey to take yourself. And you'll, people who go hiking notice that. You know what I mean? If you go on a long, like 15-mile hike, you'll have every emotion to the top and back. And so then the 4 of you, from the outside, it's just four people just working out together.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's not. It's a whole. Everyone's, to use the female metaphor, everyone is going through euphoria to having their period to back to euphoria again every single day. There's a whole,
and it's
right, like cascade of shit that's like just blending.
Yeah, like 3 of us uprooted our lives and moved here, and Tola and I live together, and Lauren lives next door. So there's the 3 of us are kind of living, like, let's call it living together, like co-inhabiting a little place. And there's the cultural differences that we're all adjusting to.
Yeah, you're all culturally so different. Boston, Australia, Stockton, California, now Iceland. Those are not. That's wild. That's wild. Yeah.
And that's the whole part of the journey. I think that it's been an interesting journey, and it was interesting. We put together the team, and our goal was to win the CrossFit Games. And very quickly, CrossFit and the media outlets ran with this whole us versus mayhem narrative. And that's been kind of so heavily pushed. But that's not our goal. Our goal is not just beat mayhem. It's to try and put together a team that can win the CrossFit Games. And that is so much broader. And that includes there is a journey and there is a story and there are multiple stories that go into 4 people coming together from completely different worlds and creating a team. There's a story about going from, some of those guys have been heavily coached before. I've never had an in-person coach every day. I've had coaches in CrossFit, absolutely, but I've never worked with a coach face to face. I've never trained in an environment with other people who are genuinely competitive, who are taking it as seriously. So these are all adjustments for me, adjustments for the other guys, like living there. Lauren left Raz, her fiance, like she's here on her own. Like there's so many different things.
Oh, he's not there?
No, he's not here, man. So he's
that
back.
Sucks. He's cool as shit. Do you know him?
Fucking cool dude. Yeah. He's a legend.
He's awesome.
He's a legend. Got to spend a bit of time with him when we first came out here. He's such a top fella. And that's where there are stories beyond this kind of weird narrative that CrossFit's obsessed with Us First Mayhem. And those are the kind of cool, these are the parts of the journey that I'll certainly remember the most. And that's the kind of, all of this stuff. Like fucking hell, I live in Iceland now with three people that were pretty much strangers before this whole experience.
You and Annie and Lauren are pretty big names in the sport. How does Tola, and obviously he's eminently capable physically. Is it weird for him? Is it different for him? Is it like you guys are?
I would put Tola and myself in the same category of knownness in the sport, I would say. And we kind of we take the photos of the people that come in for the photos with Annie and Lauren and
people hand you the can. Oh, that's good. That makes me so happy. Good,
absolutely.
Good.
We did have Sarah was back here for a little while when she was training with us one day, and we had 2 Aussies that came in and they came to get a photo because they're here from Australia, and it got Sarah to take the photo. And even that though, I thought that was very funny. And then they lost their shit and they were just like, oh my God, gave me the phone straight away, and it was switch out, let Sarah jump in for the photo with them. So yeah, bro, it's
that's the story of my life, by the way.
Getting given a phone to take photos.
Story of my life.
Bet you nailed the photos, but huh?
Say that again.
I said, I bet you nailed those photos, but huh?
But huh?
But huh? I bet you nailed those photos. There you go. Another cultural difference. These poor bastards have had to get used to the fact that every second word I say is a swear word, and my Australian accent, plus I speak quickly, can be difficult to understand at the best of times.
Yeah. Well,
I've had them. They've all dropped the C word. I've had it out of all of them. They've all dropped it. No one's immune.
That's wow. So you were in the gym when Sarah Sigmund's daughter was there, Katrin David's daughter was there, Annie Thor's daughter was there, BKG was there, Yami was there, Tola was there, and Lauren Fisher.
Yeah, bro. We have and there's other people that come.
Dude, that's nuts.
Oh, dude, I think I think BK.
How fun
of that crew, and then you also had Solveig and another girl, Gucci, that's from here as well. Is very good too. We had, and they was decent training crew today. I was fuck, there are some serious athletes here. And what a fucking, it's good, man. Everyone's competitive, but it's healthy, I think. And it's fucking, it's a vibe, dude. It's a serious vibe.
Do you have to be, so we, Hunter, I spoke to Hunter McIntyre yesterday. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Okay. And he went to Dallas and he just set the world record. He does something called High Rocks. It's CrossFit, but it's just the same event over and over. Okay.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that. I don't know what it is, but I know High Rocks exists, and it's kind of that race with the 1K run between all these different stations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he set the world record yesterday. And where was I going with this? Oh, and so he was talking about these training camps he does, where he has a cabin out in the woods and he'll do a training camp and everyone pays money, and then I don't know, 12 guys show up and they train and they all act like they want to do what he does, right? And he says 3 days in, people start hemming and hawing.
Yeah.
Do you? I know everyone has to take care of their health, their physical health, right? You can't get injured. But do you have to be careful that you don't bring let me give one more example for this. My wife has done this course. It's called a Vipassana course. And you go away for 10 days and you're not allowed to make eye contact or talk to anyone for 10 days.
Yeah.
And you've heard of it.
Yeah, I wanted to do it a a bunch of times, and then things have popped up and I haven't got around to it yet.
And they give you this set amount of food that you have to eat. This is what you eat. And so she will say, like, on day 4, you'll see someone getting a banana that no one else gets. And when you see that, you know that, like, they heard, I have to have a banana, and they went and talked to someone there and they got a banana. Because the voice is in their head for needing a banana. They're looking for some sort of control, but that's a whole nother thing. Do you have to be careful being on the team that you're not psychologically the anchor?
Anchor being the one that's kind of
complaining, whining, even a tiniest little bit, even let's say squeaking.
Like, the squeaky wheel to get, gotcha. No.
Like, hey, I need a day off, or hey, I'm going to tap out this last workout. Like, you really shouldn't do this workout. Let's say maybe because you're injured, but you better do it because you know that if you don't, it has a psychological impact on the team or any. Do you see these conflicts?
Yep, I go exactly what you're saying. I think that's more of a personal psychological impact that it takes having to put your hand up and say, I want to sit out. And that's fucking hard. I've definitely battled with it. When I first came here, so I flew to Miami, and James and I had to go this fucking roundabout route because it was still hard to get out of Oz then. We just started opening up. So it took us 36 hours to get to Miami. The day later, we started competed for 3 days, got on a plane the day after that, and then, 4 days, got on a plane the day after that, flew here, had 1 day off, and then we started training again. And my back was playing up big time. And I also had this little fucking cough that I couldn't quite shake. And I was training and it was good. And I was kind of like, there were things that I knew that I couldn't really do and I shouldn't do. And getting comfortable enough to actually speak up and say, hey, I need a couple of days to either fucking let this cough die down. I mean, I went to a bunch of different doctors, and to get my back in order, I need to take a step back from what we're doing currently, and I need to take a couple of days off. And I think that was more challenging for me personally, and how I then felt that I was being the weak link or the squeaky wheel or the complainer versus the team necessarily looking negatively on that. I think it's kind of the opposite of the team, it being psychologically difficult for the team. And I think it's more difficult for us as individuals to have to put our hand up and be like, hey, so I'm not going to do this next workout because, and the thing is as well, I think there is an understanding that there's no one on this team that's going to cop out. There's no one here that's going to not do something because they don't want to do it. If you're going to sit something out, I think it's pretty obvious from having been around the group now. And that's a culture that I think is part and parcel of the actual group that we're in. And it kind of comes from the top with like your Annies, your BKs, Cats, your Army and all that no one's bitching out. No one's sitting a workout out because they just can't be bothered that day because they just don't feel like it. So if someone does put their hand up and say, I need a day off or I need an extra rest day or I'm going to come into the gym an hour later than everyone else because I want to get a little bit more sleep today, it's never, I don't think, taken as that kind of, this is like a bad thing, blah, 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 blah. I think,
so is that trust? You guys trust each other?
Yes, absolutely. I think we do trust each other. We trust that everyone is going to put their best efforts in. So far, we haven't had any reason not to. Like it was our first experience on the weekend as a team. And we absolutely fucking bombed the second workout. For example, then on the last workout, I bombed the last workout for us big time. Like I fucked that up and it fucking stung. And I'm sure there will be.
That was the muscle up when you had to redo one?
Yeah. So my thumb, the grips that have the circles in it, my fucking thumb got caught in one of the little holes and I could feel my grip. I was like sliding around and getting stuck. And on the last one, I couldn't quite turn over fast enough, came down, shook it out, jumped back up, failed again, then had to stand there for fucking 10 seconds like an idiot. It's still fresh in my mind, and then go up and do it again. And so that, I don't think we would have won that workout, but we would have finished second had I not fucked that up. And that was really shit. Like that was a shit feeling. And everyone else in the team, though, they know that there was literally that I just fucking failed. And like that was, learn from that. Everyone else was so supportive. But that the culture is such that you demand, what we demand from ourselves here is so fucking high, and everyone is on that same page. Everyone is on that same page, and it's really fucking cool to hold yourself to a standard like that versus it being something that being a standard that we're necessarily held to by each other. I'm sure that exists. I'm sure if one of us did start to slip up, that would then become a conversation, or people would start to step in and say something, but it hasn't happened yet.
What about this? What if, oh, this is good shit.
All right, here we go. I'm ready.
I shouldn't even say this on the air. I should call Yami. What if Yami did this? What if Yami said, "Hey, Khan, I want you to call the team and tell them that you're not showing up to practice today," and like you make up something that's just bullshit, right?
Mm.
And then you show up 10 minutes late and you're there, and Yami says, "That was a test for you three." Were you mentally strong enough? Did you just start blaming Khan?
I think it would be
Don't worry about anyone fucking else. It's about you. You know what I mean? Like putting in some like crazy psychological obstacles like that. One time my wife told me on April Fool's, she said, "I'm pregnant."
I tried to get him with an April Fool's, actually. Pretty similar to that. But yeah.
And then for 30 minutes, dude, I just thought about my fucking life.
Was that before? She told me it was like before.
Well, yeah, way before I had kids. Yeah, way before. Like I didn't have kids till I was 43. This is like when I was 33. And I remember saying to her, she told me she was pregnant. And I remember, I think I was having a call with Lauren Glassman, Greg's wife, to try to like get some project passed through. And she said, and I said, "Hey, do you think now is a good time to tell me that?" And as I said that, I'm like, this fucking girl just told me she's pregnant with my baby, and that's my response. And it was just 30 minutes of chaos. And then she told me April Fool's, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. I got to live in like a fantasy land for 30 minutes.
Well, yeah, fuck. How good's April Fool's? How good is April Fool's?
And so there's almost like some shit you could do that, like to head fuck the team.
I tried
to prepare from some psychological hurdles. Like you come in there and say you're hurt, or Annie says she's hurt and she can't train for the next month, and she lets you guys think about what that's going to be like for an hour, and then Yami say, "No, that's not true. But how did you guys handle that?" You know what I mean? Just fucking some Navy
like
SEAL shit.
I feel like if I did it, everyone would just be like, "Shut the fuck up, you're being annoying." And I'd be like, I tried to get them this April Fool's. I told them that I'd like had a house back in Australia. I had to go back to Australia, that I had a house back there, and that I sold it. And the only way to get the sale through was for me to go home and sign the papers. And it was like, if I didn't go back there, it'd all be fucked up. And then apparently apparently Annie had seen it, and she started saying to Fred, "There's no fucking way he's going back here." But Yami was in there fucking quick, and he was just like, "Happy April Fool's to you too." And I was like, "Get fucked." Like I thought,
nice.
I nailed it, but he was well on top of it.
Do you have a girlfriend?
I don't. But
do you have a boyfriend?
Available. I don't have a boyfriend either. I think, you know what? You asked that exact question in 2015.
Oh, so it's because I think you're so beautiful. It's because I think you're so beautiful.
You were like, and I think that my answer was, you asked, "Did I have a girlfriend?" And I said no. And you were like, "Do you have a boyfriend?" And I was like, was that the question that you wanted to ask originally? Or and I was like, you kind of snuck that one in there.
I'm hiding behind the girlfriend question, but I just want to ask, why don't you, at 32 years old, why don't you have a relationship that an intimate, emotional, physical, intellectual relationship you're cultivating, nurturing?
I was in one, and we split last year. She's a fantastic girl, just kind of, I felt disconnected for a variety of different reasons. And then I think, I don't even know, man. Like, I think that I'm still trying to figure out how to be what I believe to be the best partner and make myself available. Like, we split, and then I met this other like, I feel like I just keep pushing away these fantastic girls because I feel like I don't know how to be a good partner. And it's something that I need to work on. It's something that I need to figure out exactly what I want in that respect. So I'm like, I definitely, yeah, dude, like I feel like this is this weird transient period that I'm in now for the next sort of 6 months. But yeah, it's a good question, mate, and one that I'm still trying to figure out the answer to myself.
When you say push away, you mean like sabotage?
Yeah, I think, but just like find reasons why it's not the right time. Or all this kind of stuff, and overthink it, man. Overthink it.
Yeah, don't do that. Do you have any concerns about being emotionally hurt?
Myself?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of why this DBT stuff too, like dealing with.
Why do you care though about being emotionally hurt?
Still feel hurt. Like
Right.
I don't like, and that's what I'm trying to get better
But
at.
you work out and feel
Yes.
pain. You work out. You're not afraid to do. I mean
Physical
that
pain's
salt
fine.
bite workout.
Yeah,
What?
I can deal with physical pain fine. I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with emotional pain better. That's what I'm
Yeah.
like. That is my number one thing that I'm working on at the moment, mate. And it's because I don't like that feeling. I don't like being scared to go all in on relationship with some fantastic person because I'm afraid of getting hurt, because it's a shitty thing and it's a shitty fucking cycle to be in, and it's a shitty, not even just when it comes to relationships, when it comes to like even putting myself out there, when it comes to no, I'm not taking applications. I'm not. No. No.
I really like emotional pain.
Yeah, see, but I think that's just different strokes for different folks.
Maybe like's not the right word.
I can see I love
It
physical
makes me
pain.
feel alive. Do you have a creative outlet? Do you play guitar or anything? Or you write?
Yeah, I write a lot, man. I write a lot. Yeah, that's definitely my creative outlet. It's how I try to process emotions. It's how I try to process them. I'll write about them, and I'll write length.
Get into a relationship, let someone break your heart, and then put out a bestseller.
Yeah, man. That's definitely a creative outlet for me. I think in some respects, I see fitness as a creative outlet. I see.
But I think you need a different one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like writing's good.
Yeah.
Writing's good. What about have you ever written any songs?
No, I haven't written a song. Maybe back at the end of high school, me and my buddy wrote a few songs, and they were all fucking dark.
Can you make yourself cry?
No.
No.
Maybe
you
if
can't like imagine like your mom dying and then you start crying.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know if I could do it like, I don't know. I feel like if I like.
After we get off, I want you to turn your penis inside out, and I want you to try to make yourself cry. Those are your two projects.
I don't have one anymore. This is terrible.
It's too big. It won't go inside out.
Then write an incredible song about it. My penis disappeared. Oh, yeah, fuck me. I'm not even going to go to that part right now. But yeah, dude, I know, but I will cry very easily. Like I'll cry in movies, and I'll cry. I almost cried when we were talking before, and it got pretty deep and heavy, and I'm an emotional dude. And that's just, well, like you said, I could say I'm an emotional dude, but like I said, I'm working on it, man. Like I'm trying to get better at processing those emotions and being less emotionally reactive.
Don't you, so many. I had this guy on, Patrick Bet David, and as a, young man, he told himself he was going to abstain from sex until he made $1 million. And it took him 17 months. Do you ever experiment with stuff like that for yourself? Like, hey, I won't ejaculate for 2 months, or like, do you ever like impose those type of controls on yourself?
Yeah, no, I haven't used ejaculation as a means of self-control before, but
or experimentation, or
yeah, I've experimented plenty, mate. Don't you worry. But yeah, not that. Like I'll do things with like for me, getting into sort of habits. So hey, I'm only allowed to do X once I've done Y, and I'll sort of do stuff like that.
Like you treat yourself like I do that too. Treat yourself like a dog. Like there's treats for you. Sit down, then you give yourself a treat.
Yeah, but and like I think that there's huge benefits to that. I mean, in that,
me too. I love that.
Stacking. It's like you kind of go, okay, I'm going to ingrain. The first thing I do in the morning when I get up and I go and I have my shake with the stuff that I'm supposed to have it in, and that's something that's a habit that I've got into from here. And it's like these things then kind of flow on. It's like, all right, when I sit down to do work, I have a list of the things I'm going to do, and I do that, and then I do that, and then I'm allowed to kind of, if I have certain tasks that I need to do, like I have my tasks that I need to do, I have to tick them off. before I'm allowed to just go and read random articles about weird fucking philosophy shit or go down some YouTube rabbit hole watching weird videos and all that sort of stuff. And then I'm allowed to do that because it's still somewhat productive and I'm kind of learning. I feel like enriching myself in various ways, but I have to do these certain things first. And I'm getting a lot better at creating those kind of forms of discipline for myself.
Oh, yeah. I really like that. What did I write down here? This was fucking nuts. One time when you went to bed, you made 42 or 48 trips to the bathroom.
Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about my bladder. We've reached the point in this conversation where my bladder is the topic. Let's go.
So I have this thing where, okay, at night I check all the doors. I have 3 doors. Okay.
Yep.
And then maybe like I'll plug my phone in and then I'll be like, okay, I checked the doors, but I'm going to check them again. And then I check them again. And then then I go over and I turn off like all the air cleaners in the house or anything that's humming because I don't want to hear that when I'm lying down. And then I'll be like, I'm going to go check the doors again. And then I check the doors again. And it seems like and the worst thing is sometimes when I guess I think I'm on the 3rd check, one of the doors will be unlocked. And that will set off a whole like who knows what happened? Like one of my kids got up or my wife got up or I didn't really check it. But now there's a major problem.
Yep.
Now it's like now that now I'm gonna have to check it 5 more times before I go to fucking bed because like I don't trust the process.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up. And sometimes I'll go to bed and I'll be like, don't check the doors. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to check the doors.
Dude, it's exactly the same thing. It's like, don't think about you needing to pee. Don't think you need to pee. It's like, I think it's something to do with, I think in my head, I've got to relax now and go to sleep. It's like, oh, you might need to pee though. So I'm like, fuck, now I'm thinking about I might need to pee. So I'll go cut a little fuck. And it's genuinely pretty kind of proportional to how anxious I am at that point in time as to how many times I'll go to the bathroom before I fall asleep. And then, it'll fuck, like I'll be like, fuck, like, don't think about it. Don't think about it. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to get straight in bed and I'm not going to go to the toilet once. I lay there and I'm like, I start to get like fidgety. My legs start to go. I'm starting to fuck and go. A couple of drops come out. And I'm like, you fucking idiot. Why did you go? Like, you didn't even need to go to the toilet. And then that's how it kind of exactly the same as your locks, but it's me going to take a piss.
How old were you when that started?
I can't remember. I feel like it's been a long time though, dude. I feel I've always had these weird little things when it came to going to bed that I remember from being a kid. Like I remember in my teens and like early teens and like late being a kid, things that I had to do to be able to fall asleep, like just certain little rituals. And if I didn't do them, I would become fixated on them. It's like one was super duper fucking weird. And I mean, fuck, I've been talking for 2 hours and 11 minutes, mate. Let's go down let's go down some rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Like, I had to have a pair of undies under my boxer shorts, but my undies, I had to have my dick and balls hanging out of the undies with the boxer shorts then over the top. But I had to have the undies on down below. Couldn't have like just boxer shorts on. And if I didn't do that, all I thought about was like, that was weird. And I just felt so uncomfortable that I couldn't fall asleep. But I'd get in bed and I'd do things like I'd lay in bed and I'd try to force myself to not wear my undies with everything going on.
Yeah, you're trying to fix the problem. You're like, hey, I don't want to have this. I don't want to be attached to this.
You're going to lay this. And so even like falling asleep on my back, I can't fall asleep on my back unless I'm dead tired to the world. And every now and again, when I was younger and in my teens, I'd be like, right, you're going to try. Fucking laying there and I'm like, don't do it. Or like crossing my toes. So I used to have to cross. That's kind of the first. It's not the first, but it's one of
crossing your toes.
Yeah. So like my big toe here, like you can see, look, you can see the divot in my sock right now.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there with my toes crossed. This is weird.
Which one goes on top? Oh, the big one goes on top.
That's how it goes.
Oh,
so when I was a kid, I used to remember that I used to say to mom, I have to get shoes where I can cross my toes. She's like, why? I was like, so if I don't cross my toes, I don't like it. Like I would think if I couldn't cross my toes in my shoes, I'd become fixated on the fact that I couldn't cross my toes. And that's all I could think about, to the point where I would almost give myself a panic attack. I'd start shaking. My legs would get restless. I'd become so agitated. And that was a big one that I'd do when I'd try to go to sleep. I'd be laying in bed and I'd be like, don't cross your toes. Don't cross your toes. Or if I'm sitting on a plane or somewhere where I have to relax, it's typically in environments where I have to relax that it becomes more of a problem. And I'd be like, just don't fucking cross your toes. Like, you're going to sit here and you are not going to cross your toes. And fuck, my legs would start to go. I'd start to get agitated. So yeah, there's a couple of little things like that when it comes to sleeping. And that's one of them.
There's this story that I tell myself that I don't want to take my shirt off at the beach. But when I talk about it on the podcast, I'd be like, yeah, I'm embarrassed about my body, and so I don't take my shirt off. But it's a story that I keep alive. I keep that story alive. Yeah, I've made that story real. That's not real like this mouse. That story is just a thought.
Oh, thank you. Don't worry, mate. I've been trying to do the same sort of thing with all this shit.
It's so tricky. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. Have you ever? I wonder. God, what do they say the cure is for that? Like when you're like, hey, I got to have my toes crossed all the time. What's the cure?
I think gradual exposure therapy is like one thing that they do recommend. So it's like, cool. Like if you
like run through the gym naked exposure.
Well, I mean, that would be a lot
go to Reykjavik and run through.
A lot more comfortable for me as a thought than laying in bed with my toes uncrossed. Let me tell you that much for free, Sevan. Fuck. No, I think like it's practicing, just like you said, cultivating that awareness of, hey, like every now and again, like, oh, I was just sitting there for a period of time and I didn't have my toes crossed. Look at me, I can do that. And like becoming more aware, and then practicing periods where it's like, okay, maybe I'm nervous and it's like, well, I'm sitting down waiting and I'm not going to cross my toes before that. Yeah, it doesn't make me any fucking stronger either. So it's not just clinging on to life by dear life with my hook grip toes in bed, clinging on to sanity. But yeah, it's, I think just practicing it, and honestly, like in the scheme of things that I need to put attention and time into fixing and working on, crossing and uncrossing my toes is pretty low down the priority list.
It's interesting because yours is like real. There's like, by that I mean there's like something physically happening. Mine's just bullshit.
Oh, plenty of those as well. Those stories.
Yeah, mine's just like a story, like, and like that I'm attached to. Like get over it. It's all ego. It's like get over yourself. Like,
yeah,
if there was no Sevan, what are you worried about putting a shirt on him for?
You're at the beach, mate. How do you go for a swim at the beach if you got your shirt on, brother?
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy, Con? When I'm around my kids, I go the opposite of all my insecurities. So the second I get to the beach, I immediately take my shirt off because I don't want them picking up on any of it, because I don't want to pass it on to them.
Interesting. Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I don't want. Yeah. So I'm just like, hey, it's not about you, dipshit.
Yeah, right. That's
not about you. Shut the fuck up.
Maybe when I have kids, I'll stop crossing my toes to fall asleep tonight. It's maybe subliminally, I need to have a kid, and then I'm going to stop crossing my toes, pissing 48 times, and I'll be right as rain.
When did girls start liking you? How old? What grade were you in? Did girls took notice of you?
I want to say like year 10. 9 or 10.
For me, kindergarten through 7th grade, girls loved me. And then in 7th grade, something happened. Like I just became a dork. Like I just started like playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I would go to the library and like, you know, like you. And then they just didn't like me ever again after that. But so mine was kind of like the flip flop of you. That must have been really exciting. That's a good time for girls to start liking you. You must have been like, holy shit, there is a God.
Yeah, particularly because I'd been the opposite, you know, like it was almost embarrassing. You know, I didn't exist to the opposite sex, really, or like, you know, my attempts to be noticed by the opposite sex were laughed at or fucking ridiculed or whatever. Right. Yeah, kind of just like honestly out of nowhere. And I remember
your testicles dropped.
Yeah, all of a sudden I was, you know, went from a boy to a man overnight. Yeah, it was cool, but it was like everything for me, you know. Just the way I am, because of double-edged swords. That was probably a few years later.
I love this crowd. I love this crowd. Yeah, that must have been so that must have been so fun. Those must have been some really fun years.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, They were, but I think that they're, like I said,
Discovering girls is like the greatest thing about being a dude. It really,
yeah.
there's this book, Stranger in a Strange Land, and it's a guy who's comes from another universe and he's enlightened.
Mm.
And he says that basically all the other creatures in the universe that are enlightened, they don't mate.
I can
They
see.
they and we're the only creatures in the universe that have the ability to be enlightened but also mate. And he explains it so well in the book, but we squabble it. We fuck it all up
Mm.
because of like jealousy and just all this shit. We just fuck it up.
Mm.
We have this great gift that we can be enlightened, sort of transcend our humanness, our sex, but we also get to fucking bone and roll around naked.
So he's not saying, I haven't read this book. He's not saying that they are enlightened because they abstain from sex. They're just saying
no. He's just saying that that's one of the evolutionary things, and it makes sense to me. Like when you transcend all, there would be no, you would just be this in sort of this eternity. But
that's good. I thought you were going to tell me to stop jerking off again.
No. That's only to experiment with. That's nothing dogmatic. but it is a very powerful tool for to examine for control or
It's funny you say that. I have a good friend of mine, and I know will do that like regularly, just like abstain from jerking off or having sex for periods of time. And yeah, he says exactly that. I don't know if he's read anything on it or it's just in his head. He was like, that was the ultimate way for him to kind of practice self-control. So
it's crazy. I the first time I did it, I was in college and I kept these 2 20-pound dumbbells by my bed. So anytime, because you can't leave your hands alone with your dick. You just can't.
Yeah.
You cannot. Yeah. And so you're just like, dude. So anytime I would like wake up in the middle of the night, I would just grab the dumbbells and just do a set of 20 and then go back. Like, and my theory is to pull the blood out of I would do a set of shoulder press 20, to get the blood out of my penis. that was I'm no fucking biologist, but that was my thought. I'll bring the blood to my shoulders.
Fucking fans of yours that are now going to bring dumbbells home. They're going to be like, what the fuck's going on? Just get up in the middle of the night doing that.
And I told my poor dad that I was doing that and that I'd gone 2 months without ejaculating. And he goes, listen, boy. And I go, what? He goes, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. I was like, and I thought my dad knew what he's talking about.
Oh my God, that's great. That's phenomenal. Just jump down and do some push-ups between, or get a 100-pound. Maybe that's what I do. I get my 100-pound dumbbell. Next time I get the urge, just start doing my crunches.
My shoulders started looking really nice after.
There you go. And then all of a sudden the girls notice, and then there's the temptation. It's a double-edged sword, mate.
It's funny you wouldn't think this, but this is just proof of this. I've talked about this before. Normally when I have a guest, I have 2 pages of notes, and the more pages I have, the more nervous I am about the conversation. I have 5 pages of notes for you.
Dude,
that's how nervous I was about talking to you today.
Dude, it makes me feel a bit better saying that and you could probably tell it the way I was speaking as I was shitting myself. And I think because of that, like, I had this kind of like initial kind of like, oh man, like Sevan and the CrossFit Louis Theroux and that initial experience was like, I didn't know how this was going to be. And yeah, dude, I was just as nervous. So don't you worry.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. I would love to stay in touch. I love what a fun conversation. 2 hours and 20 minutes just blew by.
Yeah, mate, we've covered some topics. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Com Porter, like I said, I would go listen to the Mindset RX podcast. And we will be watching, and no matter how much you tell us that it's not between you and Mayhem, we will not believe you.
All righty. I'll let you have your little